Ahem. It's been so long. So very, very long. Hello, everyone. Welcome in, welcome in. It's good to see you. Welcome to class early, everyone. Hello, sure. Let's go on, Trevor. Q, Bo, my champion. Hello, good to see you. Hello, hello. Let's go on, Philo. Hello. Gingeroo was not on Not stream, was not on my 2025 bingo card. I love me some Gingeroo. Listen to the last album. The album was crazy. So good. Good evening, everyone. If I rip Glidesdale in half, do I get an A+? I'm a big fan of Glidesdale, unfortunately, so yes. What's going on, Ari? Hello, Pen Best Deck. We'll talk about that. What's going on? Aurora, good to see you too. Hello, hello. And hello, Helen, by the way. Centaur, Strongest Soldier. I'm sorry we couldn't make for the Moonrise meta, but next time. 20 Makov, hello. Space Pope, hi. Hello, hello. Sir Tractor, let's go! My most recent champion as well. We were just literally chilling in the Elestrals camp of champions, aren't we? Hold on, let me check my audio. One sec. Make sure everyone's not just drowning. That sounds pretty good to me. Hi, Swolefit, let's go! Audio good, great to hear it. I love to hear it. It's been, God, when was the last time we streamed? It's been a couple months, actually. Actually, here, let me do something real quick, because I'm not multi-streaming this to Twitch, so I'm pretty sure I can have you guys up right here if I'm crafty enough. Yes, I can. I'll be on Centaur, Copium, NBD, and they were roommates. It's been. It's so glad to be back. We're here. Cryoblast. Shout outs to Sam. Hello, everyone. Welcome into another Swolax lecture. Please take your seats. We're not quite ready to start our lecture quite yet, but we are going to be getting into it soon. It's a long one today. So not only have you not had a Professor Swolax stream for a bit, you also haven't had a Trish stream in a long time either. So I'm kind of doing some double work. Shout outs to the Law YGO or Law TCG, depending on who you ask, for providing a ton of data for today's lecture. I could not do it without them, and so we're going to be thanking them before, after, and during. The big thing that I think we're here to talk about is Moonrise and the Moonrise meta. I am so excited. This one is so interesting to me. And one of the reasons why I decided to do a Professor Swolax stream specifically on the Moonrise meta is because I think there's a lot to go over. And I think there's a story to tell specifically with the cards that are prominent, the decks that are prominent, and the storylines that we've gotten since the largest Elestrals event in the world, in history, even. Shout outs to Bo. And myself a little bit. We played a good match. It's true, data? Nah, we got vibes. Anyways, double Rhino. Reoccurring theme will be the Cryo Rhino jump scare for today. It's crazy. The Law was today's teaching assistant. In a lot of ways, my fellow professor as well, my fellow teacher in arms. But yeah, last stream I remember was ranking Elestrals and talking about how broken Earth was. True. Actually, that was a long time ago. That was the last Professor Swolax lecture. The last stream as a whole was like 3 months ago now. Dallas has really messed up a lot of things. Let me tell you. I think it's really funny too, because I think for the most part, Elestrals has been going pretty solidly, right? Effectively, what has happened is that everyone has kind of gone into a mode where pre-Dallas, post-Dallas, and now we're here. And Dallas really threw off, I think, a lot of people. Not only one, was I recovering from a big sickness, but two, everyone was grinding their butt off for the largest in-person Elestrals event in history. And so we'll talk about that today. We'll talk about the Poison Nectar Monthly. We'll talk about the April 5th webcam event, and we'll talk about the most recent April 26th webcam premiere. The meta was an absolute mess, and I love it. Isn't that crazy? Isn't it crazy? Like, I think it's a really good, really interesting meta. I don't know if I like it, per se. Like, I don't even know if I love it, like it, or hate it. It just kind of is, right? But I think we can, we'll get into the conclusions a little bit later in the stream. Man, I love Moonrise. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think what's so interesting too, and this is a big shout out to and we'll talk about this in the lecture. Bo, your decks have been very interesting to follow, and especially the last couple events, more specifically. But I love it. I love it. I truly love how diverse this game can be and how you can have success with such a wide spread of decks. I think so. Actually, funny enough, this specific lecture has been inspired by Wirtz in a weird way. Now, yesterday at about 11 in the morning, I decided to do the impossible, which is finally get off my butt and do some research. Now, my grant was halted. No. But I posted a screenshot in the Nimbugs Discord, and it said the gears are finally turning, the hamsters are on the wheels. And I was a screenshot of me going crazy trying to input data. Everyone say thank you, law, right now. We're gonna say it now, we're gonna say it in the middle, we're gonna say it after. Literally, this would not be possible without the law. Absolutely not. But anyways, I was compiling data for this thing. And then like 2 hours later, A-Drive tweets out, people will tell the story of Moonrise someday. Well, we're here. Already on it. Already on it now, in fact. So, if y'all are ready, we can hop into it. Let me get my lecture slides together. I think it's a pretty interesting one, all things considered. Let me find a good music for this selection. Does this one work? Sure. All right, everyone. Hopefully none of my confusing meta. Hey, what's Moonrise? What's good in Moonrise? Yes. All right, everyone, take your seats, take your seats. Class is going to be in session soon. We are getting everything set up. Let me check my audio real quick. Up over. Oh, where's chat? ¿Dónde está la chat? There you are. Hello. All right, everyone, please take your seats. We are going to be starting our lecture sometime soon. Now, the title of this lecture on the stream is, of course, the let me check my audio one more time before I really get this going. Yeah, that's good enough. All right. All right. So this lecture is going to be titled The Moonrise Enchilada. Now, why is the Moonrise Enchilada? Well, one, I made a ton of enchiladas last week, and that's been my meal prep for the week. But I also think it's a fitting name to talk about the whole thing with Moonrise. Moonrise is kind of interesting for me. Perfect something to listen to while I go to sleep. Well, absolutely have a good rest, and hopefully you can learn a thing or two about Moonrise. The thing about the Moonrise Enchilada is that it is dense. It's big. There's a lot of things to go over, a lot of things to do. One, there's a ton of decks that have been topping, have been placing, and have been winning that have been somewhat unexpected. Number two, it's a diverse format, which is comparatively to the formats previously has not been the case. Number three, the cards specifically that are the culprits of this might not be the ones that you think. And number four, might be hungry. But it's a whole baby. It's a whole hefty enchilada baby. So, hence the Moonrise Enchilada. Mostly the hungry part, absolutely. So without further ado, class, get your pens, pencils, typewriters. I know that a few of you have them in the back of the class there. I can hear them. Never made a pretty big problem for me, but oh well. And let's take some notes and do some observations about the Moonrise meta. But first things first, who am I? Well, that's me. I'm Swolax. Unfortunately, my background is I have a copious amount of experience in UX and UI design. Will there be a quiz at the end? Yes. Not a very long one, though. Just a really quick one, for sure. For sure. What's going on, Game Rocks? Hello. Good to see you. Hello, hello. That video of the mechanical keyboard thing gets me every time, by the way. There's a great one. It's amazing. He's also responsible for many cursed thumbnails. True. I didn't put that one in there, but if you guys have seen the most recent NBT thumbs, that's your professor, unfortunately. All right. So, is this possibly a case of there aren't enough players to give us a big enough sample size, and there isn't a best deck? No. Fun fact. No. Okay, that's a great question. That's an amazing question to put to ask. We have tons of data, actually. This is the first time in history we've actually had good data to go off of, which makes it really weird. I love it. Excellent question. You see, look at me, it gets me excited in the morning. It's always this, baby. It's always this. Bless thumbnails. True. The Vold, I should put the Voldos Pog in one of them. Will we need a calculator for the quiz? Absolutely not. No, this is a completely memorized thing. It's open note. It's open note, though. So, major in marketing and psychology is effectively the worst way of putting the UX and UI design degree background. Part of that, too. Shout outs to KG for this as well. Always been saying it. Always welcome. A bunch of fancy terms just saying that I'm a prime yapper, if you haven't seen it so far. And I would say, pretty cool guy. All right, more importantly, who am I? Despite everything, still Swolax. 2 times Elestrals champion, Elestriad Season 2 finalist, your Dallas Open 2025 finalist, and a very solid, respectable 21st or 2nd place Sag. I like long walks, I love to cook and clean, and in high school, I got my bike stolen. You never guess that me, would get my bike stolen, but it happened. I got it back though, one way or another. Hey, what's going on, Josh? I'm gonna say hi, Josh. Hello, hello. We're just now getting into the meat and potatoes of everything. Absolutely. Shout out to the kettlebells, by the way. I was also a great hugger. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm an okay hugger. It's all about the placement. But this is me. Once again, Prime Yapper. And I got some stuff to talk about with the Elestrals. Let's move on. So, we are here. Where is here? More importantly. So we are in year 3 of Elestrals. Elestrals is deep into its 4th premier set, Moonrise, which has introduced a lot of really cool mechanics, a lot of interesting cards, a lot of very diverse decks into the format. Oddly enough, this wasn't predicted to be the case, but decided it was going to be the case overall. Really interesting, but I don't know. We also have 2 ban lists so far into the game's life cycle. These 2 lists have restricted very specific cards. We have things like Equilinx going to 1, Elichick going to 1, banning Sparkit and Jotaya, RIP Wirtz. And yeah, the game is still very new. Am I too late for class? You are a little bit late for class, but we can catch you back up. Ready? This is the Moonrise enchilada. For everyone that's here and here late, we'll catch you up real quick before we get into the meat and potatoes. This is the Moonrise enchilada. I am Swolax, Prime Yapper. Despite everything, still Swolax. A bunch of 2nd places, shoutouts to Dymax. Very solid 21st place recently though. And finally, we're back here. So there you go. You literally missed nothing. But you will have to make up the time that you missed. All right. So once again, the game is still very new. Things we will be discussing inside of this discussion can and will change. Whatever changes can and will happen. 3 ban list? What was the 3rd? Have we had 3 ban? Oh, because the switch back from something to something is what you're saying. Like we've had the 3rd ban list is the switchback, the kickback, slickback, switchback. Is that what you're saying? Or am I wrong? Am I just getting the 3rd one? Yeah, who cares? We didn't get that data in there. Zeus to meter. Okay, so the switchback into Zeus to meter. Yeah, sure. I don't know if I really count that because they gave that little asterisk on the restriction. But either or. Opinion going into this lecture. Also make your predictions now. It's a great option there, Dr. Barber. Is that anything sufficient with sufficient testing and a good pilot can top in this meta is a myth. Curious to see how that opinion gets changed. True. True. Spark it, try a Vis Equilinks list. Ah, the Vis list. Vis list. That's right. I don't know why I was thinking the other one. Oh well. Skill is mostly what matters. That's absolutely true. All right. Then what's the situation? Let's talk about this. So we talked about previously before. 1, we're setting the stage. Year 3, 4th set, we're in there. Now, what's the sitch? Moonrise is a super diverse format, and it's evolving literally to this minute. We have a new set coming out soon. New set coming out very, very soon that's going to be legal. What's going on, 6? Hello, by the way. Blizzstrix's Strongest Soldier. We'll talk about you here in a second. The Shattered Stars Ares cards will be legal, which do introduce new Firestorm cards into the meta and change a little bit of what we know about a deck called Fire Nexus. So the question remains. Super diverse format. New cards out soon. What is the Moonrise meta? This is something that I think we just can't really define. Like, think about it this way. The base set meta was Thunder Earth, realistically. And if you have a hot take and opinion, effectively every single meta has been 5s. Shout out to JJ. But Frostfall meta, I would argue, is probably a heal, but still 5s. We saw the rise of what we call Giac 5s inside of Frostfall, if you will. Then we move on into Thunder being pretty good inside the Moonrise, inside of the Frostfall meta. So we're still getting kind of Earth Thunder variants. Inside of Daybreak, we're still pretty high on Thunder and Earth up until we get, of course, our ban list, which we know there are 3 of. Everyone knows that there are 3 of course. But those have been relatively tame. We saw pretty consistent topping decks. We saw pretty consistent topping players, pretty consistent topping cards overall. But Moonrise has been really interesting. There was a short a little while back from MBT talking about all the different decks that have been winning and topping and the theory that have been going into it, the counterplay that's been happening. And so we're seeing something quite magical with the Moonrise meta. So once again, to kind of back it up a little bit, Moonrise has come out. We're somewhat still inside of the new stages of this game. And we have to talk about why this is important for the growing Elestrals game, realistically. The players are evolving. Also true, we're getting smarter. Talk about that later. Is an enchilada or tapas? It could be tapas. So the card pool is large enough with Moonrise that we are starting to develop a micro metagame between tournaments and not just sets, right? Like listen to kind of what I said there previously was like between my recollection of my terrible recollection, if you will, of base set, Frostfall, Daybreak. And those have been relatively consistent overall. But when we talk about the Moonrise meta, we actually have to talk about it tournament to tournament, realistically. Legit have to remake my side every tournament. Exactly. Ari, one of the top players in the game right now, like a testament to this developing micro metagame. It's not just the fact that we're getting like different decks. It's different tech cards, different ratios. The players are changing, evolving. It's pretty wild. We finally also have enough event data that can be compiled. Previously, the events were pretty sparse, but just inside the Moonrise meta as a whole, we've had like 2 tournaments before 3 tournaments, I think, maybe before Dallas. And then we had Dallas, then we had a PNM, then we had 2 premieres. That's 6 tournaments. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. That's absolutely crazy. So this is a very early development of a thriving card game. A really good sign of the fact that there are, again, enough cards to where we can start to make meta considerations and start to experiment, as well as we move into Firestorm, potentially getting ourselves into a situation where we can see this going the long haul. But it also means that it is the end of what I'm going to be calling extended base set theory. Shout out to Josh on this one. Josh actually has the coin for this one of extended base set theory. The idea with this is that base set, Frostfall, Daybreak, and Moonrise are all kind of this like completed season 1 of Elestrals, if you will. And that base set can effectively extend it out into the entirety of Moonrise. So maybe in such a way that Moonrise is like the final form of Elestrals before we start to get into some really interesting design space. Kind of forming its identity around its Elestrals, its lore, and very similarly, its design mechanics in terms of nexusing, ascensions, etc. But yeah, what's going on, Actual Log? Hello, by the way. And Titan Mention. We'll get there too. Magnetic Force Field, my best friend. That listen, wild, by the way. Wild, by the way. The one Fire Spirit was my friend during the last premiere. I dodged all the eruption players. Vipyro sitting, the ever loyal Vipyro. But any questions so far what we've gone over? Effectively, what I'm trying to say with what is the Moonrise meta is that it's a whole enchilada. You get it? You get it? All right. So let's move on. I think the story of Moonrise is actually quite interesting. It is not only the story of Dallas, the open premiere, the big first one to kind of showcase and put Elestrals on the map for a lot of people. It's also the story of 3 cards. And we'll get into that. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, Swolax, what are those 3 cards? And I'm just going to ask y'all, what do you think the 3 cards going into Moonrise? Like, think back to the beginning of Moonrise. What do you think those 3 cards would have shaped Moonrise? Just list off some cards. Can we go back to Dallas? Absolutely. I would love to go back to Dallas. Hell yeah. Camel. Hey, what's going on, San? Hello. Good to see you. Blizz, Nabi, Werepup. I like those answers. It's a good answer. Argo, Full Moon, Calfmel. Hurricane, Calfmel, Argo. Oh, also really good. Full Moon, Blizz, Navi. Argo, Zeus. Argo to Top Cut, true. Pup, Full Moon, Blizz. Hurricane, what's going on, Adam? Hello, good to see you. Schnark, on Ty Hill. Those are all really great guesses, and everyone is like super close. We'll go ahead and do it. First one, you might think of when we start off the Moonrise meta, that it's Werepup. Werepup is one of the 3 cards, right? More Frost, more Frost, more Frost. True. Waylance be like. I don't see titled forms, thank you. Werepup. You'd think that in early Moonrise, going into the set, that the 3 cards that would define the meta, define the set, are cards like Werepup, lunar cards. Nabi, very similarly, big attacker, clearing boards, helping get into larger ascension lines, much easier. Battle becomes much more important. And of course, El Diablo. Snowlit. I think it was Trevor, I think it was Shurit, who actually got all these 3, and a few other of y'all, I think, as well. Completely correct. When you think of the 3 cards that define Moonrise very early, Werepup, Nabi, El Diablo. We all thought this was going to be the end of the world. We thought that Nabi is the craziest card imaginable. The best thing you could do is Hurricane Nabi, and Werepup transformed the meta. One of those things is true. But before we get into this, and to actually disprove why these 3 cards are not the story of Moonrise, we have to talk about the Dallas Open 2025. My beloved. Great time meeting a lot of you and everyone that was there, the staff, the players, the friends, the competition. I remember sitting in the hotel lobby talking with Bo right before the match. And I was like, this is the best event of my life. It was crazy. Yo, what's going on, Night Rose? Hello, good to see you. It was a pretty good event. For U6, it was a crazy event. I'm not, listen, top 16 off of an 8-0 finish, undefeated at Dallas is what you can say. That's crazy. It was wild. Big fan of it, honestly. I'm gonna change the music real quick. I'm not really feeling this one. I don't know why. That's pretty good. Oop. All right, perfect. So, we have to talk about. Good evening, Beeping No Money. Okay, small side note. Small professor side note. I was at a food truck like a couple weeks ago, and I before had only heard people say like people around me that knew me. Yeah, you kind of look like Beeping No Money. But then I was at the food truck and I was ordering food. Amazing tofu. This tofu was crazy. This stir fry was killer that night. And this guy at the food truck was like, has anyone ever told you that? It was so funny. It was hilarious and true. Dallas run back? I would love a Dallas run back. Anyways, did I get auto modded? Did you? Are you modded? No, you're not modded. Lamau. Baby No Money, go to for real. Big fan of Baby No Money, unfortunately. You and King Scarlet look like I really every time King Scarlet tweet. Well, we're getting sidetracked. I would love to play Giant Woman as well. Steven Universe, my beloved, so good. Anyways, all right, we have to talk about the Dallas Open. I lied. We actually have to talk about the Cabal. Pre-Dallas is actually pretty important to the context of Dallas. There are two premier events where Justin T, our GOAT, takes down back-to-back wins. If you guys do not know, Justin is actually the person who I was training with the most when I got my 2 wins back-to-back. When we were like looking at Arcolith for the second win, Justin was supposed to play all those tournaments, but just didn't really have time. And so I would play with Justin late nights and we would theory Arcolith. Before anyone else was looking at Arcolith, Justin was sitting here and I was like, yo, Justin, that card's kind of crazy. And Justin's like, yeah, everyone's telling me it's bad. I'm like, let's rock. And so my sensei, my teacher, my mentor in a lot of ways, Justin going back to back, very fitting for this one, helping develop with the Cabal, as you can see, Shuret, Dimax, and Trish on in this thumbnail too. What would be the largest targeted deck of not only Dallas, but potentially even the Moonrise meta. Lunar Aggro, the deck to beat. And a couple things that we found out from these events back to back specifically is that Lunar Aggro is very good. Very, very scary. But Blizz is not really that good. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not like the end of the world. But it's good. It is still very scary and still very strong. Still very good. Do not disrespect Blizz. But it's not like Celestia back in Daybreak. You know? Like that was actually the end of the game. This was like not the end of the game, you know? And that's probably what the knots say. All right. So these are very important for a couple of reasons. We'll talk about it here specifically because it is going to shape up the deck that is going to influence the most of Moonrise. Blizz the Vegas Gamble? Absolutely. This is the first incarnation of Lunar Aggro. Now, some people would argue that Lunar Aggro specifically is still kind of a strategy that is here. I argue yes, but no. Like the lunar aspect of it changes, and the different elements you're mixing it with, I think, do ultimately change the strategies that we're looking at, right? How do we define them? What do they want to do? Their game plans, their ultimate like end goal, realistically. So this is the first incarnation that I think a lot of people just really weren't trying to do. Not necessarily. Argo to Vegas? I go to Vegas. Argo. Great question. So we still had cards like Eddie, Galaxy, and Nabi. Nabi Hurricane, the line from this deck profile, the first one, is that the best thing you can be doing in the meta right now is Hurricane into Nabi, which was kind of true. The idea was that you can clear board and go straight for the face, and you have these, what I would call tempo turns. It's not on the slide here, and I really do want to go over the tempo of Elestrals instead of Moonrise, because the idea with Elestrals and tempo is a story as old as time itself, right? If you win tempo in Elestrals, if you win tempo, not win tempo, you ultimately will be winning 9 times out of 10, right? Oftentimes, these tempo turns can consist of a healer. They can consist of a big swing turn to absolutely blow out your opponent's back. You have maybe a slow turn where you're playing Rabbit to get some card advantage. Attacks to Rabbit, right? That is a clean cut case of tempo turn where you have the ability to put your opponent on a cooler and gain some advantage back and potentially take out that game. So this deck was constructed with that idea in mind. The idea that we're playing effectively base Elestrals, counter runes, like you know it to be, resting your laurels, Earthquake, and that Skittles theory in. But we're also playing some of the most high impact starters and high impact Elestrals, like Eddie and Galaxy, in the field. Introducing the new 5s, but cooler 5s, better 5s, more complex 5s, higher ceiling 5s, different plays you could do when you decide to play them, how you decide to play them. And you build the metagame around this deck. Thank you, Cabal, and also, unfortunately, thank you, Cabal. Okay, now, let's for real talk about Dallas 2025. Because now we've set the stage for what is going to be the most targeted deck and what players are going to be anticipating are going to be going into Dallas. Let's talk about Dallas. Again, these are 2 events leading up to Dallas. We don't really know what's going to be happening here, but we can assume that the meta is going to be shaping out a little bit like so. So let's talk about Dallas. And the story of our first card that I would say defines the Moonrise meta. Most of y'all saw this coming immediately, but previously, before when I asked about the 3 cards that were to define Moonrise and the Moonrise enchilada, Werepup, Nabi, Snowlit probably would be assumed really early. But let's talk about the boat. Let's talk about the boat goat, if you will. Yeah, literally, y'all were just sitting here like, yeah, I'm just gonna swing into Swolax here, Argo. let me just swing into your Cypher Mall real quick, Argo. The Boat Goat, the first card that tells the story of the Moonrise meta. Such an interesting card. Such a cool card. I like this thing a lot. Previously Argo bad, now Argo very, very good. Let's talk about that real quick. All right, let's talk about the meta. So going into Dallas, there's like a spider on my wall. Holy God, that thing's huge. I'm gonna ignore it, maybe we'll go away. All right. This is the top 32 breakdown of Dallas. I'm not doing top 16, even though we could probably talk about Penthouse on that one. Literally do another like word art slide of just Penthouse. But the idea is for this one that I'm going to be looking at a wider range of data collecting. I'm not super satisfied with like top 16 being a good representation of the meta for an event. I'm also not super satisfied with the actual card breakdown of like the most used cards in Elestrals. I just don't think it tells a good enough story for the data analysis and the data interpretation, right? So who knows? Warm Breeze. Oh, Helen, Warm Breeze is some. We'll show off the list here. We have all the lists here, but it's some shenanigans. This thing is like solar wind with P-Gleam. I love it. It's killer. It's Beam. Penthouse was not as coordinated as the Cabal was for Dallas. To be fair, neither were the Elestronauts. I literally walked into that event with Shuret, and I was like, I think I'm playing Blizz or Earth. Let's just run it. So the Cabal was crazy. Anyways, this is our top 32 breakdown. And you would think to yourself, well, obviously Lunar Aggro is going to be the biggest thing in here, maybe a lot of Blizz representation going into the tournament. I think Blizz overall was the largest representation in the room. But for top 32, which I would consider to be maybe the largest, like the top percentage of players, we actually had Tornagin be the top play that is actually the top representation here inside of Top Cut. Lunar Aggro and Lego, you could maybe, again, classify as the same at this point. I doubt it. I'll argue they're different types of decks and strategies. They want to accomplish different things, but whatever. So Tornagin, we also have 4 Legos, 3 Lunar Aggros, 3 Blizzstrix, 3 5s. 5s, I think, for this one is just like tempo stuff. I can't really define what they are. They're not like Hurricane Beatdown, which is like wind, water, thunder specifically with like hurricane. It's just like think like foamies with like crabs. Like think that's kind of the 5 stuff. Just really low to the ground. Maybe not even Nabi in some of these lists. So yeah, I should have played Earth 2 TBH. Me too. Heal Control, 3 Fire Nexus. Shout out to Zero, by the way. Played that this weekend with my signed Kinleo. 1 Draken, 1 Hurricane Beatdown, 1 Pasta Moose, Brewlock, 1 Pantera, Ari. Photosynthesis, our champion bow of this event. 1 Voltempest, our JT Speed. Warm Breeze, we'll get to that one. 1 Wasp Ivy, and a Wind Beatdown strategy. This is our breakdown of the Dallas 2025 top 32 open. If we break it down by top 16, it's a little less diverse, but I'm kind of getting across the point that I think that the top 32 is a better picture of what is viable inside of the wider Elestrals pantheons, if you will. Let's talk about some of those decks. This is the 8-0 Blizztrix deck piloted by 6. This is effectively the somewhat standard Blizztrix lineup that we've come to know and love. Again, Blizztrix is a very scary deck. Very, very, very scary. However, I also think it really does take a good pilot to try and make this work, and you do have to hit your mills, and if you got it, you got it. In the side deck, we see cards like Hurricane, as well as Divine Blessing, potentially for a mirror match, or alternatively, for cards like Rest on Your Laurels, maybe some healing, maybe even Eruption. We'll get to that. For the most part, this is like, and I saw this all the time in the tournament, this is like the Bean Soldier list. Josh recently got a top 4 finish with a Blizzstrix deck, and this was I heard all the time. Yeah, I just kind of took Josh's list. If I had a nickel for every single time I heard, I just kind of took Josh's list. So far, I'd have 2 nickels. One of them for Antitan, the other one for Blizzstrix. Thank you, Josh. As we all say in unison. Anyways. So, we saw Blizzstrix enter. This is number 1 for Blizzstrix. The next deck was, I think this was Ruli at 7-1 with a Hurricane Beatdown list. Pretty solid overall. Again, we're starting to see what a 5s/tempo strategies can do, playing cards like Nemasail, Spoiled Fruit in the side as well, is pretty notable. Cockatoodle comes up here and there. Shouts to Ari for playing this as well. This is a deck that is more akin to a 5s strategy. Low to the ground, but always doing what it's going to want to do. Very scary as well. Next, we saw Pantera, Ari in 7-1. This is a very interesting type of strategy here. Again, we're seeing the typical Hydrake line pop up here, and we'll talk about some things to note, like as to why Hydrake is crazy. But Nabi here as well to kind of like absolutely like help clear. You're saying I will win combat. Hurricane plus Nabi plus Hydrake, I will win combat. Plus you have some great beaters like Sorlet in the deck as well. Great stuff. Veritaqua in the side too. That was crazy. Then I'm starting to forget people's like who is piloting at this point. I have them on a list down real quick, but let me actually pull this up real quick. As I'm going through these, try to pull up the breakdowns. Let's talk about Dallas. This means who is it? Is this Architects before? This is Rulies. This one's Rulies. Yeah. This one is Ruli. This one is Ruli. And it's effectively the similar type of strategy. Main decking the Boombats, playing the Spectaris, siding Sandstorm, which is pretty cool. Kind of interesting. Next, Fire Nexus, our first Fire Nexus of this one, 0 of the day. Warmite in the main is wild. I love to see a Warmite. As well, the first Argo deck of the format that we're checking out. Again, Eruptions in the side too is also really fun and scary. Fire, so you figured you might have some like things to go into time for, and you can natively play it. The Riceros is interesting though, very interesting though. Fargo Bend known, absolutely. And Arbin's a great point where it's like Fire Nexus is one of those strategies that, because it can natively play Argo, very similar to like Scrap or otherwise, it's good for it to play. You're playing a native Nexuser in there, and you're supposed to be using this also to win combat. But previously before, and again, speaking about the story of Argo, not every deck was playing it. It was mainly select decks, things like Fire Nexus, for example. Moving on. Tornajin. I think this one might be Adams. If not, this is Adams, this is Purple Snorlax. But Tornajin, an excellent deck, and again, one of the most represented decks inside the top 32 to play into Dallas. We have cards in here like the Lumaroos. Amazing list. A Lumaroo is a great beater. Of course, you have the 3 Kaufmel, and the 1 Quackle. That's right. Bo points out the duck. So I love the idea of the guaranteed heal. Guaranteed heal. Quackle, Kaufmel, or Ambrosia when you're calling your Tornajin. Excellent heads up play. Love the development of that here too. In the side deck, we see cards like the Galaxies, as well Hurricane and Spoiled Fruit, and the Spectaris as well. This also is going to be a thing we'll put a pin into later as to Kaufmel's inclusion into the wider meta. Next, we have 2 Kaufmel in here. This is San, I believe. This is Lunar Aggro with the 2 Kaufmel in the main. Once again, we're starting to see a little bit of what we would consider a couple tournaments from now to be a standard inside of the strategy. We're Armadon indeed. Arclith in the side deck too is wild, by the way. Unk my goat. But the point I'm trying to make here was that this is a more stereotypical lunar aggro strategy with things like Quioblast and with things like Kaufmel, which we'd see kind of develop into later strategies. Still playing the 2 copies of the Full Moon, by the way. A lot of decks have decided to opt out of that, but Sand's going to end up playing it. Moving on, we have another lunar aggro strategy. This actually might be Danny. This straight up might just be LVK. It is. Danny getting top 16 on the very first try with very first try. Danny's entry prize. All right, let me just talk about this. If you do not know, at the Dallas 2025 Open, Danny the night before goes to Joseph MBT and is like, hey, I don't know what to play, and I kind of just want to sign up tomorrow for the event. Do you have a deck I can play? And so Joseph's like, yeah, you should play Lunar Aggro. It's the best deck in the room. I'll teach you it the night before. So we're in the hotel lobby. Trevor and I are singing Steven Universe. They're right next to us. Danny is crashing out. Because Danny's like, I don't know what these cards do. What do you mean Where Pup Search Full Moon? What does Full Moon do? Read Full Moon like 12 hours before. And meanwhile goes like 6-0 on the day to start. And then top 16 at the biggest Elestrals tournament in the entire world. That's so great. That's so funny. The entire time just like, I guess I'm still here. Love it. It's incredible. Incredible. Really goes to show, you know, if I'm putting on my brand safe hat here, really goes to showcase that really anyone can get into this game. The skill level is so forgiving for most beginners that you can really cap at you can play with the best of the best without really having to dive super deep into it. You can be the best you can at Elestrals. The easy to get into, high skill ceiling. Crazy. He beat me. True. It's actually crazy. It's amazing. This bit feels personal. That's a little personal for me. But again, the crazy part about this entire run for Danny is that this deck is good. This deck is really good. This is awesome. Oh, hey, let's go on Risen. Hello, by the way. That's why shout out to our judge staff, by the way, too, who were killing it at the Dallas Open. Danny's only lost in Swiss. It's like I'm gonna hear like 20 years down the line that like Danny is like, yeah, I actually lost to Luke Von Karma, and Danny actually ended up being our best player inside of Elestrals. When the aliens come down and say you must select one individual, one life form to play us in a game of Elestrals, because they watch A Drive up there. Who are you picking? We have to pick Luke Von Karma. I don't know about you. I'm picking Luke Von Karma. Anyways. All right, moving on. Then we have this individual, this Lone Ranger, if you will. That side deck looks a little bit crazy. I don't know if I like that side deck at all. This is the Lego deck, Grass on the Moon. This was the previous hidden Cabal Elestronauts joint venture of playing an Argo deck in Lunar Aggro, LeBron Aggro, if you will, La Aggro. And it works. It's a great deck. It's functional. I think this deck is not good in retrospect. I think it can see success and it's pretty good, but I don't know if I would ever play this deck again. One, because of the incident. But two, specifically because I think a lot of people know how to play around this deck and play against this deck nowadays. What to cryoblast, what to hold your cards for, to expect Argo. And goofy stuff can kind of walk all over this thing, but it was a great deck to take to the event. I had a great time piloting it, and I felt super comfortable all day. Heliolith, oh god, it's so cool. As much as I wish I could be salty about anything to do with Heliolith, it was such a good call and such a cool card. I love Heliolith. When that Shattered Stars comes out and I get that Stellar, I know exactly who to send it to. So, anyways, moving on. Oh, look at the 10th seed here. We have our champion deck of Photosynthesis. Great choice here. Of course, we've kind of busted out the Lustragon from the main deck into the side deck nowadays. I think maining the Heliolith is pretty crazy, but again, you can see the shapings of the rest of the meta kind of squeezed into this deck with a little bit of the anti-meta strategy stuff. We have things like native Heliolith and Lustragon, one of the best beaters into the game. We have Lumaru, one of the best beaters as well. Viscerus, Rumgem to search your Equilinks, the best Nexuser inside the entire game as well. We have Argo and Artifacts to spare. Love this list. This was a really fun match to play against in the top. I love seeing Heliolith come down, and it's crazy because I've said this before in every single interview I think I've done or talked about this at the event. I know that I even got like messages from Bo. Bo was in the chat talking about this list, playing against Bo at the premieres too, and any of the webcam casuals or events, literally perfecting this deck forever, trying to make these cards work. Mad insane. She's just that good. Just that good. Moving on. We have another Blizzstrix. I think this is Akshar P on Blizzstrix. Again, very standard. Looks familiar. Everyone say thank you, Josh. We have Tornajin. This one I think is Purple Snorlax. A little bit different of the side deck, but the main deck is still very similar. Similar. Again, gotta kind of just go to showcase that this one is Tornajin is here to stay, playing 3 Galaxy in the main 2 for a little bit of a heavy beater. I actually don't know if our other previous resident player was not playing Galaxy in the main. So the big difference with this one is an extra beat stick in the form of Galaxy. And P-Gleam inside is pretty cool too. Moving on, I think this is Julian on Heal Control. Heal Control was a strategy that was previously kind of written off as like a one of or a previous format type of strategy. I like the fact that Caleb and Julian went into the tank on this one, showcasing cards like Spoiled Fruit and Eruption in the side, as well as Divine Blessing, which was crazy play. Was Julian really on 14? I actually don't know. I think that's not true. I think there was 15, but maybe the deck builder didn't quite get it right. Might happen for a little bit. This thing happened a little bit. Heal. Yes. Yes. Anyways. Heal control is one thing that we'll see pop up later, but you'll see notice the incarnation of this one. Water, thunder. Again, previous meta kind of analysis here is that thunder and water are some of the best things you can be doing, which we know later is a damn lie. But in retrospect, really cool to see, actually. Apparently Lockdown came up, I believe it. Brewlock, or not Brewlock, Rybot, my goat. I saw the Krakatuga and instantly Brewlock came into my eyes. Rybot for Fire Nexus. This one is actually, and really, you can kind of see the makings of what I believe is Pet Shop of a recent deck fame, but Rybot on no Remical, Rybot on only the good searchers. We're also playing cards like Eruption in the side. We have Krakatuga and no Stone, which apparently also was crazy all day. Cards like Hurricane for high impact plays with things like Lavalith or potentially even things like Nekruff. Ash Rabbit control, huge, huge, huge. And Argo. Once again, Fargo necessary here, but this is crazy. Yeah, Krakatuga. I heard about the Krakatuga stuff from Trish. Trish was mad. It was crazy. Again, heads up though. I think Eruption's a good card. You gotta account for it. Then we have another one. This is Big Kahuna. On Fire Nexus, we see the inclusion of a larger pool of Ash Rabbits, one of the best cards in the game right now. The red bunny go crazy. And we also see Eruption. Eruption inside of this deck with no Argo, which I think is really interesting. I like the idea here that this is playing more of a low to the ground strategy, again, showing things like Smoltuga, as well as the Eddies in the main. But I think also, too, the Eruption's really punishing things like Blitztrix, which was, again, all over the place from what we know. Side deck here is also really interesting. We have 3 copies of Spoiled Fruit, 2 Hurricane, and the third Eruption, which I'm sure came up. Warmite inside, too. Shout out to Warmite. Lunar Aggro coming up here. I think we have another one. This is, again, a fairly similar beatdown strategy, but with 2 copies of Doppelgator. But actually, I believe this one is Aurora's. That's right. This one is Aurora's. We're now actually getting out. This is the top 16. This is officially the top 16 of Dallas. That's the official top 16 list, are all these ones here. This one's a little bit different too. It's playing a little bit of a lower the ground strategy with the Galaxies. I like the idea that we are also going into beat down turbo, trying to get high impact plays with just the Nobbies and effectively our Eddies and Galaxies. Big fan. You can see very similar use case to something like Ari's Pent list, but instead of playing the wind, playing a little more of a water strategy. Then we're moving on to the, again, top 32 here. This is again, I classify this one as 5s. The Crab, you have the Galaxies, you still have the Nobbies and the Spectaris. And again, it's very similar to something like the previous Lunar Aggro list, but it has just a little more beat down potential and some of the counter runes change. Still no Argo though. In the side deck, we're playing 2 Wax G, we're playing the Ambrosia, and you have a Pivot to Heal, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I didn't see much crabs anymore. Exactly. BBC doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, we saw it once in the Earth Lunar deck as like a decent beatdown searcher that can potentially win some game states. Again, just kind of a nice one of. But for the most part, yeah. I mean, I think that we see like that being used less and less, mainly because of Cryoblast, as well as everything can kind of beat over it nowadays, right? Like you're not really scared of a 1 defender anymore. Even if there's a back row back there, you're like, cool. Use the back row, I'll out the crab next turn, Cryoblast. Plus, you don't want to give Nabi any food. Nabi eats up crabs for breakfast. Moving on, we have, I think this one is, we're now moving into the rest of the the contingency that decided to play Lego. This is Bean Soldier's Lego list. Very similar in the main. I think it's almost exact 1-to-1 in the main, except for we have the side deck be a little bit different. Again, I think I kind of just threw my side deck in a little bit last minute, but we have 3 Boom Bats in the side as well. Moving on, this is going to be, I think I put this one as like heal control as well, or like a 5's water tempo. It's heal with a little bit more of like foamies and galaxies for beaters. Interesting deck. Again, playing Argo as well. So I think Slargo or Slaggle. This is spicy sausage. Previous like 20-time champion playing this deck. Moving on, we have Draking. Really cool to see the Schnark list on this one too. The one of Schnark that we'll see moving forward into the rest of Moonrise meta with Draking in the main. We also have the one rock in the hard place in the side plus a Joblin if we get around to it. Moving on, we have another Lunar Aggro list. I think this one might be Distant Coders or Trish's, one of the two. Again, the side deck very similar to Josh, if not 1-for-1 for Josh. Keep that in mind. Then we have Blizztrix, our other Blizztrix, this one with the Tadflow engine, which is actually really interesting. Again, we don't really see a lot of the topping Blizz lists play Tadflow or Avalanche or some of the cards that might even turn on Blizz. I do like Blizzard in the main though. And the side pivot into a Cryovern package is really cool. Keep an eye out for that one. Next, the Lunar Aggro one. Shocker, this one is just the Cabal Knots joint contingency. Side deck being the same though. I did like my side deck a little more, but there's that. This one I also classified as 5s. This one is the 5s list inside of the strategy. I think this one's going to be from CJ. Again, like it's hard to describe how 5s has kind of just changed. It's still very much the same type of tempo strategy. We were playing the crabs and the galaxies, but the wind, water, or thunder stuff, I feels like just kind of does a little bit better. The spear math is gonna be a little bit easier. It's nice, but once again, eruption to the side here is also really interesting and a small pivot for Sluggle into the heals. Moving on, we have Voltempest. JTY. Cockatoodle on the side though, as well as Divine Blessing, Spoiled Fruit, and Hurricane in the main, because you can kind of slot it in really nicely. P-Gust for some back row removal, and Voltempest. Next, we have a Wind Beatdown strategy. This one is with Avia lit on the side. My girl Ava making a hot and heavy appearance. Sorry, give me 1 second. Ignore me. All right. Ava saw Unk and said, I could do that. The Cryspore on the side here is also really interesting. I love the idea that this is a wind, water, thunder beatdown deck with multiple P-Gust, and for some reason, like, it kind of worked. Again, a lot of these decks in the top 32 are decks that could have topped or could have done really well at the event, but again, small things and tiebreakers here and there. All right, moving on. Pasta Moose for Dallas. This one is from Brulock, playing this deck effectively throughout the entirety of all the rest of the events that we'll see going on. In the side deck, we are seeing the Necroliths as well as Spoiled Fruit, Cryoblast, and the Hurricanes in the main to help turbo out into Pasta Moose. In a room with a moose. A moose? That's not that scary. Yes, a moose. All right, moving on. Tornajin as well, very similar to the other list. Just the kind of inclusion of Sorlet in the main, except for the Quackles. It's really interesting tech too, being the Sorlets, because I think we'll see that more often going forward, is the decent 5 body stat on top of the Lumaru. Moving on. This is the Warm Breeze I was talking about. This is Warm Breeze. I don't know what to classify this as other than Warm Breeze. P-Gleams, Atuka, Nemesail, Dratagua. What do you want from me? This is crazy. This is absolutely insane. And this is a wild list. This was crazy. Love it. We have Wasp IV2 make into the top 32. This is also really interesting because I think that Wasp IV as a deck and as a concept is pretty strong. Again, so we see Argo in here, and I think this deck could have done a lot more if, for example, playing a card like Necklace of Harmonia in the main. I do like the idea that Poison Tipped Arrow, which was, I think, seen less play at Dallas Total just because wasn't super great into Blizzstrix, but still kind of an okay card, means that Synectar could really get into some value here. But lastly, we have Tornajin. We've gotten very similar, a standard list for the deck strategy so far with the 2 Zeus, 2 Apollo, as well as the 3 Kafmel, 3 Windjin, etc. And we have, did I miss one? No, this is it. Another Tornajin list. This one is more wind focused with Exaltair towards the end, and 3 Aeolus, which makes this is super expensive. Super, super expensive, but this one was really scary for a lot of people. I remember people saying that, oh, playing cards like Fleece and Bag of Winds is unoutable. What do you do here? What do you do here? Hey, Professor, and let me, hey, how's it going, Kevin? How's it going? Good to see you. Hello, everyone say hi, Coder. Hello, hello. You're just in time for our big deck breakdown and, of course, our story of the Moonrise meta. Again, going back to what we talked about previously, if I can scroll back through all these decks real quick. The big standout from this event, realistically, I think a lot of people were talking about and kind of, there we go. We're kind of saying is that Argo was previously not on anyone's radar. Not really. Like a few decks could play it natively and you kind of wanted to play it, but it was always kind of a card that was super expensive to play and it wasn't always incredibly friendly to get to. So moving on. Oh, whoa. How did I do that? Crazy. That's wild. How did I do that? Oh, there we go. So when we look at cards I'm tracking for this event, more specifically, let's kind of break down the story of the Moonrise meta, the incredible diversity. Here are all the tech cards I care about, right? Like thinking about it like this way. Think about it this way. When we get the big graphics that say things like, oh, here's all the card usage and the top cards used. What does it normally say? Cards like Gorgon's Gaze, PTA, Aster Rabbit, Eddie, Ambrosia, like cards we've seen for a long time. That doesn't tell me anything about the strategies and about the games, but the players that we're playing against. But instead, we're tracking these cards. These 10 cards have been on my mind ever since Dallas. Cards that I think paint the wider picture of the Moonrise meta. Galaxy, previously the best beater in the game, having a big resurgence inside of Dallas as the safest pick of a 5 body. Eddie, the greatest card alive. Divine Blessing, tech card against Blizzstrix, pretty decent against heal. And overall, Frostfall Sleeper? Who's to say? Hurricane, newest premier card out of Moonrise. Really great card that should have came out way earlier in the game. However, also kind of dangerous, expensive, but necessary in a few matchups specifically. Do not get your back blown out by this card. Argo, 22 cards into the top 32. The numbers above these cards are the amount of copies inside the main and side for the top 32. So in the entirety of top 32, there were 51 copies of Galaxy played total between the two. Eddie, 77 copies between the two. Divine Blessing, 43. Hurricane, 53. Argo, only 22 copies were seen in the entirety of the top 32. Spoiled Fruit, 50. Spectaris, 45. Kafmel, a lowly 17. Eruption, 14. And Magnetic Force Field, a big 0. 0. What does this tell me? Okay, so here's what I was spinning my wheels on before previously. These cards, I think, paint the best picture of the shift in metagame, playstyles, and deck building of the Moonrise meta to explain maybe why it's so diverse. Going into this event, what are we seeing from these tech choices? Number 1, Blizztrix, back row, and heal are on everyone's mind. Hurricane can help win tempo and potentially steal some games away from control strategies. Spectaris is a fairly decent / safe option for most lunar aggro decks. Galaxy is still the number 1 card in the game, and heal is on everyone's mind. Draco Ray, not gonna bother me. Sluggles, out of there. But what's not on people's minds? Winning combat, burn, and even heal in some capacity. I mean, players aren't playing it, they're teching against it for this one. So these are the kind of the cards that I'm looking at here for the rest of the lecture. And kind of to keep in mind, this is what I think ultimately can help really form the best picture of the Moonrise meta. So for Dallas specifically, Dallas, I think, is informed predominantly by the decks we saw and these cards. And no one had Argo on their radar. Not really. Like, kind of, but like not really. Same with the other decks in this list. Moving on. Any questions here so far? I'm going to move on here. There we go. Change a little bit of music out as well. Everyone get a drink of water. Stretch it out a little bit. I'm just gonna go on mute for a second. Excuse me for another moment. There was more. All right. So, let's talk about the PNM. The real winner of the PNM, of course, Bo. Slept in, of course. True. Can you Nexus on a bank holiday? No. No. Not at all. Okay. Poison Nectar Monthly comes around. Again, we're ending out the Dallas event. Bo wins the tournament. Argo, Heliolith, the Lunar aggro deck, LeBron aggro, everywhere. We know Blizztrix is a known factor. Certain decks aren't performing as well as we thought they would, but we are seeing some standouts. Okay, legitimately, actually, that did sound like a cat outside. All right, Poison Nectar Monthly comes around. Thank you, Joseph. This is the breakdown of the Poison Nectar Monthly. We're gonna probably move through the list a little bit faster than we did previously, because this is, again, technically this is a top 33. There were only 33 players at the PNM. The PNM is one of the craziest, like, training grounds by far, full stop, hands down, but also has some of the craziest deck lists alive. Again, at the PNM, we also have Lego, 3 Legos at this event, 3 Pharaohgeist, 3 Blizztrix, 2 Fire Nexus, 1 Water Earth Argo, which is a little bit different. It's just Earth and Water good stuff with Argo package. 2 Pen Terrors, 1 5s list, a Hurricane Beatdown, 1 Joblin, 1 Cryo 5s, that's one's Adam's list, 1 Cryo Morfrost, 1 Cryo Rhino, keep an eye out for that one, 1 Lunar Phase Jin, which is a crazy deck in itself, but pretty cool. 1 Oistillery, 1 Pasta Moose, again, Brewlock on that one. 1 Duck Duck Goose. Again, I don't know how to explain these decks to y'all, but Duck Duck Goose is about all I can call it. So you're just gonna have to trust me. You're just gonna have to trust me on this one. All right. Sunburn. 1 Lone Ranger playing Sunburn. Keep an eye on that thing. an actual Tornadin deck, and a Water Reanimator list. This is our top 32 breakdown of the PNM that happened immediately after Dallas. So we're kind of starting to see the metagame change just a little bit, just a little bit. First, we have effectively, I think this is Rat King on a anti-meta strategy. It's playing Argo. There's Argo again. We also have Heliolith inside of the main deck to kind of punish some Argo strategies. We have change position Elestrals. We have some stat swap Elestrals that really end up making a big punch. Cards like Spoiled Fruit and Divine Blessing still inside of the deck too. In the side deck, Spectaris also still there too to help potentially combat things like Galaxy. No Galaxy in the main. Then we have LeBron aggro again. This actually might be Disencoder for this one, or Josh. Might be Josh actually. I think this is Josh's list. Oh, who's this handsome guy? Sunburn. This is a list I took to the PNM because I was doing a special project. I can't talk about it just yet, but this is one of the craziest decks I've ever played. I'm surprised and shocked that it worked. However, unfortunately, Swolax and the ramifications of my actions, I was not prepared for the monkey's paw to curl. I said I need a good solar list that wasn't photosynthesis. As you wish. Keep an eye out for that one. Blizz Tricks. I think this is Jack Kyomu, or Jack Kyomu. No, Jack Kyomu? I say it wrong all the time. I almost took the Sunburn list to premiere. Don't! This will come up later. Don't do that. And I have empirical evidence to showcase a 5-3 record for it. Or 4-3, whichever one. It did not do well. Point is, it's super fun though. Great deck. I do love this deck. All right. Blizz Tricks. Again, not the Josh Blizz Tricks list, rather the other Blizz Tricks list. Then we have Cryo Rhino. Okay, this will be important later. This will be important very much later. Shoutouts to Sir Tractor on this one. This is the emerging showcasing of the greatest one trick that we have inside of our entire strategy. Banger. Moving on, we also have Cryo 5s. This is Adam Adams' list. I'm so sorry that I had to do it to top 8. Kind of funny. But also very similar strategy. Again, the big body of the Frost Dragon is hard to get around. And I think this was a solid theory for this event and for Moonrise as a whole. I do like that Adam and Sir Tractor are both experimenting with these strategies. And again, the side decks look pretty clean too. Then we have, this is Constellation Game Moon, or Hoodat, calls this deck scrap. Incorrect. Big, loud, incorrect buzzer noise. This deck is not scrap. Scrap is solar. It's the first letter in the name. It's solar. This is Argo Nexus. This is just plain. This is Art of Cats as well, but this is not scrap. It says solar. There's no solar in this scrap list. Incorrect. But we do also see eruption, main and side. Keep that in mind. Next, moving on, we have a Hurricane Beatdown. Very similar water, wind, thunder strategy here. Pretty standard as well. Then we have a Water Reanimator list. I think this is from Y Rebellion, I'm pretty sure. This deck is something we'll see pop up here and there as a... shout outs to Kekre for the scrap bubble. Again, great commentator, incredible player. You can't ever doubt her. Reanimator is a deck that I think was on people's radar for the most part as like a thing to try, but I think that this list also helped really push forward the idea that maybe water can be really good, but it just kind of has some high roll inconsistencies, playing a lot of Ascension lines in here, which is cool, but maybe not super effective whenever you could just be playing a 1-drop. Tornadin. with Argo, by the way. The new innovation of Argo inside of lists like this too, where previously you didn't really have to play it, but I think this is also a thing of people slapping in a relatively decent battle trick into normal strategies that just maybe not even need it. Then we have Penterror. It's Penterror. It's effectively, I think this is Ari's list. If not, this might be Ari. Then we have this is Water, Earth, Net Argo as well. Again, utilizing the cards like Argo, like Equilinx, and the Nexus fodder. Argo-Jin. Argo-Jin's pretty good. Again, Argo. Argo popping up this too, and eruptions in the side. Crazy. Then we have a Draco Ray Phosphocell. This is Duck Duck Goose. This one is Duck Duck Goose. This thing is playing Phosphocell, it's playing Draco Ray, and it's playing P-Gleam. I almost called this thing Duck Duck Ghost because of the birds and Winjin. Ooh. So, Duck Duck Ghost or like Duck Duck Goose. Kryber, this is Kryber. Kryber has been on this list for the next couple events, and it drove me insane. Every time I'd be like, oh, what's Kryber playing? It's this. It's Duck Duck Ghost. It's crazy. Moving on. Then we have Bellowbee Beatdown, the Fire Nexus strategy, or Fire Argo, early Fire Argo, if you will, but with some of Bellowbee. It's effectively just Fire. Fire Nexus with the Argo, so Fargo. Hey, what's going on, Lazy Lee? Hello, good to see you. Hello, hello. Lunar Aggro in this one, playing the Artemis on the side. It's kind of fun. Then we have Lego. I think this actually might be Coders. The Lego list, which is pretty much unchanged except for the mudslides on the side. Argo here as well. Then we also have, this is the typical 5s beatdown with the Lunar strategy, a Water Lunar 5s strategy. Cockatoodle on the side as well, something of note. Then we have the Vertuculus Comalis with Pharaohgeist. This is a Pharaohgeist list popping up here. Will probably be important later for Dimax's shenanigans with Pharaohgeist, but again, playing Argo in the main deck is the key here. Then we have Lego as well, Argo. Wait, I'm so mistaken. Wait a minute. This one's K-Cray. Or is this one K-Cray? One of these two is K-Cray. These are one of these Lego lists are yours. And I cannot remember which one it is. But everyone's saying congratulations. Moving on. Voldusk. This deck was pretty cool. It's Voldusk Pharaohgeist. Do like the strategy here a little bit. It's the Lunar Winjin deck too. So you're effectively calling full moon, or like you're calling lunar phase, and you'll always hit with Winjin. Really fun little strategy. Cute. And Titan. And with Argo in the main too, by the way, some of the early rumblings of an Argo strategy and of the Nexus powerhouse as and Titan that we'll see later. Then this is Cryofrost. The Cryomorphrost deck, playing some of the lunar stuff. So Lunar Frost aggro. Minimal amount of counter runes in this one, I think, is maybe potentially to explain its somewhat lower placing, but again, still a very interesting Frost strategy, and the idea and concept is there. Next, we have Oistillery Starbit. I wish Starbit was good. I wish Starbit was good. Unfortunately, it's not great. This is a little bit of an outlier, though it is playing the Spoiled Fruit as well. Then we have Pharaohgeist once again. This is our second Pharaohgeist strategy, playing the Comalis and the Argo in the main. Then we have Lego. LeBron Aggro once again. And we then have Penterror, where I think we're almost repeating ourselves at the moment. We have Posthumous come out here. This is again a brew for this one, and following the entirety of the strategy. This one was super cool. This was Densect. The name of I couldn't name it better even if I wanted to. Densect is a strategy that I think is like really it names super well. Dense Fog Insect. I kind of wish it was playing Nabi in the main, but I love Night Venom. Night Venom's a really cool inclusion. Starbit hit the board on Saturday. I love Starbit, my beloved. Also. Densect. Cool name, great execution, Divine Blessing, and maybe a little bit of a misstep in the side deck. We're also not seeing Argo in this one, but I like the concept. Fire Nexus. Argo in the main. With Eruption in the side, by the way. Then we have Joblin. Joblin's really cool. Again, sort of the like kind of ascension strategy for anything. I do like the idea of Schnark. I love Schnark. Oh boy, Schnark. Get into our larger ascension lines, playing the Draken in the side deck, even though Draken may be the better option of the two. Kind of big depends. Then we have Blizzstrix with Corvishine in the main. Corvishine was a card that was experimented with inside of Blizzstrix to maybe can help with the consistency of it just a little bit more. I like the concept here. It's Josh's list with Corvishine is the general idea here. Fun though. I think it was the I plushie was this one. No, this one. Oh, and then we have another lunar change position aggro with the Corvishines, or Corvus Skulls, not Corvishines, Corvus Skulls, excuse me. And we have Blizzstrix once again. Again, Blizzstrix is not quite living up to its standard here. We're starting to also see that the top decks inside of the PNM are not Blizzstrix. There are these lower to the ground strategies playing Argo, they're nexusing, they're burning. Shouts to me. And so here are our totals now. So previously, looking over these decks and over these lists, we have things like Galaxy 51, Eddie 77, Divine Blessing 43, yada, etc., etc. These are our previous numbers from the Dallas Open. Now I want you all to give me a wild guess as to the up and downs of this list. Give me your best prediction on what you think is getting played more of and what do you think is getting played less of. Just really quick. Really quick. Argo up, Kafmel up. I like the idea. Less Galaxy, more Argo. Also like the idea. Eruption up. Always got to get your EE up. Galaxies, Eddies, Blessings, and Hurricane down. Kafmel, Spect, Argo went up. Like the idea. Everyone get your late answers in now. You're going to be on a little bit of a delay. Let me go ahead and show you the real answers behind this. Look at this meta shift. This is crazy business right here. So, the change between these are quite drastic. I guess you probably should have formatted these slides a little bit better. But the idea here is that Galaxy went down drastically, but Spectaris went up drastically. And I think we know why. Spectaris is really good at hitting a lot of different bodies. It's a pretty decent 5 stat, kills the Galaxy. Eddie's still there, holding it down. Spoiled Fruit is also decreased. I think people are just not seeing heal as much as they thought they did. And Eruption went down, actually. But I think Eruption's impact is the crazy thing here. As well, and this is not a shocker, Argo seeing an increase in play. Out of the top 32 in Dallas, 11 extra copies made its way in, and Spectaris also went in. Hurricane also down significantly. Part of that I think is to do with like Spirit efficiency. Like you don't really need Hurricane. Like you do, but like a lot of decks can play through Hurricane. But it's still a really insane card. It's just that maybe a lot of decks can't even slot the Spirits. Very big balance here. Spect the unexpected or something. Prospect the unprospectable. Eruption stopped doing damage to spirit decks and are started doing psychic damage to players. Exactly. And this is where I have to say that this is my fault. Still no magnetic force field though. Just keep that in mind. 8 copies of Kafmel down from 17, so about half. As well, again, increase in the use of Spect. Kind of the big trend here is that we're seeing that Spect good, Galaxy bad. Not entirely, but still kind of the case. Spoiled Fruit, less people are expecting heal. And Argo is the big standout that people were playing from Dallas, now are much more on people's radar. Now, this is where I have to say, I'm so sorry. I think this is my fault. I'm almost certain. The webcam premiere for April 5th. We are starting to go into and catch up with the current Moonrise meta. Current Moonrise meta, and the second card on our journey. If you guys do not remember, the first card in our story of Moonrise was Argo, the big standout from the Dallas event. But I think arguably, okay. You were right. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. Can you imagine? All that for a 2-second bit, but if I knew how to play Toxic Gossip Train, I would. I do know Giant Woman and unfortunately the other one. It might be out of tune though. That actually might be it. Might be out of tune. But we'll get there. So, anyways, yeah, I'm so sorry. Very out of tune. It is. It's very out of tune. It's super out of tune. Also, was it worth it? Absolutely. Just a smidge out of tune. Very out of tune. Very dusty. Very out of tune. There's a reason it's not back there. Milady. Wish I could stay up, but gotta go to work. Good night. Good night, Sir Tractor, and congratulations again on your win very recently. Well deserved, and you played great. If I could begin to be half of what you think of me, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love. All right. So, let's proceed. This is my fault. The second card on our journey into the story of Moonrise is Eruption. Eruption is a simple card. Invoke rune, 2 cost fire that says opponent must expend 3 if they control a fire enchanted Elestral, they must expend 1 instead. Why this card? Why this card? Well, I know why 6 hates Eruption. And unfortunately everyone else. But who up Erupting? So why Eruption? Let's talk about it. Eruption has only had 10 copies. In fact, it's actually down in usage from its Dallas counterpart. Let's go into why. Here are the top decks from the webcam premiere of this tournament. We have 5 Fire Nexus, 2 End Titan, shout out to Josh and Log, 2 Blizztrix, 2 Celestlio, Dimax, and Cobalt Sanderson, which will get to you eventually when you're watching this from down under. 2 Pharaohgeist, 2 Tornadjin, 1 Duck Duck Goose. They must be stopped. 1 Water Reanimator, 1 Chrysor, 1 Earth Argo, 1 Earth Burn, 1 Blazerus, 1 Caprofume, 1 Cryo Rhino, comes important later. Told you. 1 Heal Control, 1, which will also come important later. 1 Penterror, 1 Pasta Moose, 1 Solar Fax, and a Cryo 5s. These strategies here are what takes it. Now, but you might be asking yourself, well, listen, I love Gaga, but what the hell does she got to do with cameras? Eruption is the key here. Yo, it's going Pit Kahuna. How's it going? Good to see you. We're actually kind of talking about you in a weird way here, oddly enough. I wanted to play Solar Nexus this event, and honestly, I don't even know if that would have been crazy. Because of this event specifically, the big standout from it, and Titan. A lot of decks were either falling into 2 camps, I feel like, in this event. They were going for Nexus strategies specifically, but this is Josh Bean Soldier TV's 7-0. Talking smack, talking some love, actually. 7-0 and Titan list. Look at this beast of a list. I love the bug box inclusion, adding the Viscerus in. It's effectively just Earth, Nexus, Argo, and in some ways is better than the Lego list. I think it's better than the Lego list, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Again, we see the inclusion of Argo still. The side deck and the main deck are not equipped to handle Blizztrix except for the Boom Bat. So we're actually just full on getting rid of Divine Blessings. Kind of crazy inclusion here. But again, more starters. The deck profile is on the channel if you guys want to watch this as well. I think it's the most recent video too. It's better than Lego. Yeah, I intellectually understand this list was good, but I could not for the life of me get a feel for it compared to the combo variant. So the thing with this deck is that it's just like protect the castle and then you Echo Links to kind of twist the knife and win. You're also going things like Ardbud, second turn protect the Ardbud, and then going Turbo and Titan can potentially happen too. As well, you can hard ascend over things like the Werepup or Lycavoid in some cases, having the extra Earth Spirit, as Lycavoid is one of the best Nexus banks inside the game. It's kind of the thing we'll see later on with some of the fire decks that have been popping up in recent time. But this deck is kind of the mold for what we can see for some of the newer aggro strategies. It's Lunar plus X plus Thing, right? Moving on. Then we have the heal list. I think this is Julian's heal list. Again, we talked about it previously with Julian's other heal list that got top 8 or top 4, top 8, top 16 at Dallas, which is Water, Thunder, Heal. But now we've got Thunder, Solar, Heal. Interesting. I have stated this before, and I think this was the crazy part inside the PNM that was more of the ticker for me, is that Solar as a deck is not quite there, right? Bo's innovation upon Cybermaul and Heliolith, be damned. I think that Solar has cemented itself similar to Thunder. Thunder losing Sparkit and losing some of its bigger key players allowed it to be this bigger splash engine. Pun intended in some ways. But the idea is that Thunder as its parts are better than its OG. Astrabbit, Elichick, Quackle. And Solar. Take apart Solar and put those pieces inside of a better engine, and you have a recipe for disaster. Heliolith to help combat some of the Argo strategies. Play an Argo yourself. Cafmel, one of the best premier healers inside of the entire strategy. And Lumaru, an insane beater. Which is crazy. You can say that the same for any other element. Frost, you definitely can't say that. Frost, you can't. Water, you probably could. Except for water does work well with itself. And lunar. Lunar works well with itself too. And lunar apart in other engines is still very strong. So I can agree with you. More that the pure versions of Thunder and pure versions of Solar aren't quite fully realized. Until later. So we'll get there. 3 eruption in the side as well, by the way. So still kind of going forth on this strategy. Still kind of side decking for Blizz 2. Tornajin. This is the, I actually don't know whose list this is. Let me pull that up too. Boop, boop. This is Hunter Surge for Tornajin inside of this this event. Really cool strategy. Again, very similar idea, playing the Ascension lines, the Quackle going into the Atom tech, and playing Argo inside of the list. Argo-Jin, go crazy. But still very similar to what we've seen before. Then we have Dimax. I'm so sorry, Dimax. Celestlio. Argo Celestlio with the inclusion of Exaltos to get out the Searcher of Celestlio, which we'll see pop up again later. Very important to note. However, this I think is closer to the idea that I'll be proposing later. So keep in mind this sort of philosophy of this deck. This is where I think where people start to think, oh God, anything can top. Anything can win. Moving on, we have a, I think, very similar deck. This actually might be Big Kahuna. It is! This is Big Kahuna's Fire deck, a little bit more refined than the last couple times, playing Thunderstorm in the main and Eruptions in the side once again. Big fan of this one. I do like the inclusion of the Warmite. Always love Warmite as a one of. And Ash Rabbit, once again, we'll see that pop up a little bit later. No Argo, once again though, opting to go for a more low to the ground strategy, more consistent searchers. Then we have, this is Shuret on Fire Nexus, and oh my, what is this? Is that Lunar? This is kind of the emerging of one of the most recent, strongest strategies in the game that we'll talk about here in a later. I had a discussion with Trish over the name convention of this one. Unfortunately, Trish did win. But this deck specifically is showcasing what I talked about previously with the End Titan deck, that Like a Void is the greatest Nexus bank in the game. In the Trish Trauma side deck, true, look at that. No Stone plus the Krakatuga and the 3 Eruptions. Once again, I'm so sorry, everyone. Argo inside the main deck as well, really capitalizing on that. Got the small Tuga in there. This is Pet Shop. This is Pet Shop, as well the deck will fire aggro, if you will. And this deck specifically was crazy. Crazy during this tournament, crazy during the last tournament. And once again, if you point out the similarities between the End Titan list and this one, or even the Solar list and this one, the idea of Nexus banks, Argo, a little bit of consistency. Very solid list. Love this deck. Then we have again, 5's Cryo. This deck specifically, kind of going back to the Atom list we saw previously, very strong contender. Big bodies that you can help turbo onto the field that are hard to deal with, can't be cryoblasted, typically are going to be tsunami immune. And Narpoon. I didn't talk about Narpoon previously, and Narpoon doesn't really need its introductions, but it's kind of important to note that Narpoon, very similar to cards like Werepup, allow you to get into your engine much faster, so again, a stronger starter on a pretty beefy body. Plus Cataract in the deck for a heal. Flare. Fire Lunar Argo Eddy. Yo, that's a tough name. Wait a minute. Flare is crazy. That's a good one. I was just calling it Fire Argo or Fire Aggro, because that's what Trish wants to call it. Flare is gnarly. I like that one a lot. Flare is killer. Keeping that one. Blizztrix. Josh's Blizztrix deck. Lamau. But peep the side deck. Is that Magnetic Force Field? We'll come back to that. Cryo Rhino. Shoutouts to Sir Tractor. Literally the same deck. Fire Nexus in this one. Again, closer to Pet Shop than we might think. This is the Fire Argo strategy, very similar to Shirt, but instead of playing things like the Lunar Engine, opting to go for cards like Forge, which I think from my own experience, unfortunately incorrect, but also Galaxy in this one too, going back to the very solid beater that we've seen before. In the side deck, Krakatuga and Eruptions right then and there. Would you look at that? Argo and Eruptions. Weird. Moving on, we have Fire again, Fire Argo Nexus again, and with the Eruptions in the side. Crazy. Again, we're seeing back-to-back-to-back Fire list pop up everywhere here. We're starting to realize, I think, with the idea too of the Fire Argo lists, that if Lego works and Lego Lunar Earth Aggro works, why not Flare? Why not Fire Argo? Fire Aggro? Why don't those work? And the answer is they do. And in some cases, maybe even better than Earth. It's kind of funny to think about, right? Better searchers, more reliable consistency. And on top of that, one of the strongest Nexusers in the entire game that is not limited. Moving on. 2 decks of the same caliber. Did I copy and paste the same list twice? I think I did. Moving on. Celestlio Turbo. Okay, this one is Cobalt, and we'll come back to this one. Put a pin inside of this Celestlio list. Peep the three Leo Bright. This one's killer. Doesn't quite live up to what we'll see now, but keep this one in mind. Cool deck. Then we have Bo's Cybermaw list, and I know this is Bo for a fact. Let me just go and check that. Yes, Solar Facts, deciding to cut a larger portion of the that event. This event, Cobalt kicked my butt, dude. It was crazy. I was like, "You're doing what?" Wild. Anyways, going into a Solar Nexus engine. We talked about it previously. We kind of conversed with Bo on this as well, previous champion. That cutting out stuff like the Earth engine of it kind of makes this more optimized. Exactly, optimized Solar Nexus. You have your Ascension lines as well as your protective bodies. The side deck being very similar to Pandora's Box to help combat Argo strategies, and also you have Heliolith. Again, very solid. Like I said, Solar, I've loved that Solar is seeing its time in the sun, pun intended. Effectively, this strategy is showcasing that it does have legs. And a boat. Moving on. Krakatuga. This one is from Full Frontage. I faced off against this list and unfortunately kicked me out of top 16 on Sunburn. But this list specifically playing the 3 eruptions in the main. Again, Fire, 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 Fire Burn, Fire Nexus, Krakatuga. We are seeing the emerging and the unfortunate ramifications of my actions. Bust down the ukulele soon. Posthumous, Brewlock list. Argo in this one as well for the Comalis and a potential side Pharaoh guys. No, 5 side Pharaoh guys. I didn't peek this one enough. Golden Fleece as well with the inclusion of the Calf Mells in the main. We have a Caperfume. Caperfume is Cap. But I think the deck name on this one was something like, I just did this because I could. So really fun idea. I like the existence of this deck as like a fun meme and is not too far off from the deck theory from several of the lists that either topped or even the Dimax list before. That's just like, yeah, you can kind of just throw this Elestral onto an existing shell and make it work. 3 eruptions on the side, by the way. Moving on, we have the Earth Burn list. 3 eruption in the main deck here. I'm playing the Boltuga to search out the eruption, the Krakatuga for ascensions over things like Eddy, which I think is actually pretty heads up. You don't really need to play a defensive body to get the Krakatuga. If your Eddy can stick, you can just hard ascend the next turn into the Krakatuga. Pretty good. Then we have, I think this is Slaggle 2 from Spicy Sausage again. That guy triple eruption do. This one triple eruption do. That's messed up. That's messed up. That's super messed up. This one is Earth Thunder Argo. Thargo, if you will, I guess. I don't know if I really like this list in particular, but I think the theory is sound. You're using the healers for things like Quackle and things like the change position of Mudlet and the big body of Moss Station, mixed with the power of Argo. What can go wrong? Oh well. This is Fire Nexus as well. I think this one might be something else. Tipping for quality meta-analysis content. Thank you so much, Dr. Barber. I really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Very generous, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. We're it's, you know, honestly, I think between me and Trish covering these lists specifically, I know Trish is going to be doing an event stream soon, going over a bunch of the lists, might give a little more micro inclusions of what to take out, what to play. I'm much more concerned with the trends that we're seeing here. Talking about the decks that we're seeing, the cards that we're seeing, and somewhat still going over these lists. Literally 500 lists in one setting, I know. This one's crazy. Anyways, eruptions in the main for this one too. Very solid strategy overall. Pandora's Box helped combat Argo. Then, class, you don't have to raise your hand for this one. Can you tell me who played this and what this deck is called? Take a wild guess for Phosphocell, Tornadin, Draco Ray. Oh, I definitely got jump scared by Cobalt. Cobalt got me good. That was I want to play the deck so bad. I might play it tomorrow. That's right. Duck Duck Ghost is back, baby. Kryber. 3-time. PNM, this event. Duck Duck Ghost. Twice. Why? Why, Kryber? Why? Then we have a Lunar Argo Nexus strategy with Comalis, Pharaohgeist for this one. Then we have Penterror. Pent, not best deck. This actually might be Ari. No, this is Ice Pal. This is Ice Pal's Penterror list. Very similar to Ari's though. Very, very similar. Very, very similar. Scrub big time? Hey, you and me both. Oistillery. This is not necessarily Water Reanimator, but kind of. This is a exclusion of the Caprigal, more inclusion of the Draken in the main, which I think is also, again, really cool. I did like to see this list perform a little bit better. And I think, again, the bones of what we would see from the second place list of this most recent tournament, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We are starting to see the Ascension lines kind of pop up here. Oistillery and Draken decreased from 4 previously, I think, just now down to 2 types. Then we have Hurricane beatdown with Lunar is the idea here. Just kind of including the best beaters in the game, plus Arcolith and Nabi in the main. Spoiled Fruit in the side, though. We're starting to see, again, decks that are playing less of our meta calls, things like Argo and Eruption, and deciding to opt in for a little more lower the ground strategies and playing previous techs from tournaments of yore. Moving on, we also have Wind Chrysor. This is the Ascension list for Wind, and I don't hate this list. This is a really cool strategy, playing cards like Toxiswarm in the side. The one of Hurricane can be pretty interesting. Phallocane, which we do see come up later with Sorin plays list. And 3 P-Gus, which I think is maybe the problem here. Love the P-Gus, but once again, maybe could have been a little bit different. Then Tornadin. Seeing this pretty low here, the representation for this list and the Draco, or the Hydrake on the side is pretty fun to see. But again, I think we're just kind of seeing this list pump in things like Sluggle and the Galaxy, very similar to Purple Snorlax, inside of the top 16 of Dallas. Then I think I did 2 slides twice. There we go. Who is this? It's me. I tried to make the run back with Sunburn at this event after the PNM. Big mistake. Couldn't be me, but it is me. This list was really cool. I ended up taking wins over certain people and then just like getting hard bodied by other lists. This deck was fine. The reality of this deck list, I think, for this event compared to the last one was that Eruption did carry, but people were playing around or with Eruption. Fire Nexus was everywhere, ineffective card into the strategy, and people were playing around Eruption after seeing that I was playing it. Right? On top of the fact, too, that Draco Ray and Heliolith, honestly, kind of ineffective as well. I was very shocked and surprised to find that I was hardly able to stick a body. People were playing around things like Armadon. Kinleo was kicking my butt. And yeah, Eruption was still kind of one of the best cards in the game, though, but still kind of sad. Very cool strategy. I liked the other one quite a bit. Literally played, yeah, exactly. Dimax literally played Magnetic Force Field. It's so sick. Heliolith is only good if you're on artifacts. I think it's okay in a list like this where you might need to ascend or play against artifacts, but I think people were also somewhat on less artifacts. Also, shoutouts to Rybot with the Eruption. Good, by the way. True. Then we have Pharaoh Geist come in for this event, and now we're on to our totals. So literally the last two slots, a Swole Axe and a Pharaoh Geist. Let's talk about the previous numbers. So these were our previous numbers before for cards like Galaxy, Eddy, Divine Blessing, Hurricane, Argo, Spoiled Fruit, Spectaris, Kaufmel, Eruption, and so forth. So what do we learn here? From Dallas to PNM. From PNM, are these numbers seeing these numbers are for top 32. The numbers are for top 32, main and side deck, where they occur. So 38 copies of Dallas for the PNM top 32 showed up like this. So, prediction time, chat. Class, excuse me. I called you by your government name. What are we doing here? What is going up? What is going down? Let me know. What do you think? This one might be a little more obvious for sure. We're going from the PNM to this most recent tournament. Eruption, Force Field up, Argo still up more. Magnet shows increase, Galaxy way down. Magnetic Force Field up by 200%. I think Eddy stays the same. I like where Bo's at. True. I think just following the established trend, we have downs go down harder, ups go up harder. Also very similarly, you could potentially say that too. Hurricane down too. All right, we'll talk about it. Ready for this one? Calf goes up. Look at this. So we have a lot of cards that stay relatively the same. Hurricane is relatively the same. Argo is relatively the same. Eddy, relatively the same. Shout out to Bo for knowing that. But here are some of the interesting ones. Like mentioned before. Galaxy continuing to tank. Spoiled Fruit is about the same. No changes there. People are, I think, accurately going against heal. The cool one here is Spectaris into Kaufmel next. Divine Blessing down indicates here to a Blizztrix. People are not scared against the Blizztrix, by the way. There's a lot of copies slowly going down for Divine Blessing. Previously one of the most side-decked cards for Blizztrix. Now, nah, it's never really there. Spectaris and Kaufmel kind of going hand in hand. Increased Kaufmel play. People are saying Kaufmel is the greatest card in the game. Julian wins this event with Kaufmel, and a lot of solar representation is here. Heal very, very strong. And Spectaris down, meaning that Kaufmel can shine. It's still not too bad. You know, Spectaris is still a very decent body, but we are seeing a lot less Lunar in the top 32. So maybe is the indicator for why that is. And of course, Eruption, baby! Eruption through the roof. 32 copies from 10. 10 was like me and one other person at the PNM. And again, I'm so sorry to tell you all this, but Fire Nexus good, Burn Strategy good, Krakatuga good, this card crazy. Why is that? Pretty simple. It's good against Blizzstrix. It punishes Argo play. Argo is sometimes a 6 spirit play. And the fact that this card can win and snipe games from people who aren't being careful with their spirit management, on top of the fact that you can natively play inside of one of the best decks in the room, potentially the best deck inside of Moonrise, Fire Nexus. That's right. Fire good against Pent. Fire is good against a lot of strategies. And you can just slide it all in if you want to, or take it on out if you don't. On top of that, this 5 right here for 5. 5 right here for Magnetic Force Field indicates that people, it's on the radar. There's top players that are playing against Argo. They're playing for Eruption. They're not Argo. They're playing for Eruption. They're playing for that. This is definitely Dimax's fault too. The big thing here is that I jump scared Dimax at the PNM, and Dimax is like, I'm not losing to Eruption ever again. So the big takeaways from this one is that Eruption through the roof. Fire is punishing bad spirit management on top of expensive plays, on top of the fact that it's good against Blizz and can slot in natively. Things like Kafmel also really high, indicating that healers might be one of the best things you can do. And it's a great tempo turn card with a pretty decent stat, especially late game. Spectaris, while really effective against strategies like that, Lunar, not really much to be seen. And Galaxy, one of the previous most reliable attackers ever, down. And Divine Blessing down too, so Blizzstrix down as well. So that's effectively it, right? From the PNM, we saw a big swing and a shift into the meta. Moving on. We are finally here. After so much, we are here against our better judgment. The webcam premiere that just happened this past weekend. A lot of y'all were there. A lot of y'all did a really good job. Shout outs to Sir Tractor for winning this one. And now it's time to talk about effectively the last event inside of the Moonrise meta, as we know it so far. We talked about it previously that the Shattered Stars Ares cards are coming out, and they are going to be on full display for the foreseeable future inside of Moonrise. Up until Firestorm, of course, which comes out in like a couple weeks. So what's the big takeaway from this one? What is the card that is on everyone's radar that we did see an increase in play drastically? That is our third card in the story of Moonrise. It's our girl Mel. This one's pretty obvious, right? Let's talk about her. The webcam premiere top 32 breakdown from this event. Again, we are kind of against Trish's better judgment. We are separating out things like Fire Aggro, Lego, and some of the other Lunar Aggro decks. Again, Lunar Aggro, down. Down. So, 3 Fire Aggro, or Flare, as I'm now going to be calling it forever. 3 Lego, 3 Pharaohgeist, 2 Tornajin, 2 Celestlio, 1 Duck Duck Goose. Duck Duck Ghost, if you will. Kryber. Can't keep on getting away with it. 1 Solar Fax. Shout out to Bo on that one. 1 Thunder Argo, Thargo, or Thagro. It's actually, yeah, it is Thagro, not Thunder Argo. We'll get into that one a little bit. Or Thuner Aggro, excuse me. Wait a minute. This is not even Thunder Aggro, Thuner Aggro. And that is not a misspelling. It's me mispronouncing it. That's on purpose. We'll talk about that. 1 Thunder Earth, 1 Pentair, 1 more Shiva, aka Shiva Frost, Shiva More, Shiva Frost. What do we call it? I think more Shiva. 1 more Shiva. Lunar Aggro, one Cryo Blizzstrix, one Fire Nexus, one Draking, one End-Titan, one Blizzstrix, one... Am I missing... I think I'm missing Cryo Rhino. I'm missing one Cryo Rhino on this list. Maybe I put it in with the Cryo Blizz. Anyways, one true Fire Nexus, one End-Titan, one Blizzstrix, one Argo Nexus, and one Lone Ranger. One Cowboy. On a little deck. If I can just pull out the card. Called Bronto Wisp. I did not do very good. Very close, though. Very, very close. I did brick, and I expended to draw 4 times in a row. One of the games. So, you know, the Swolax special. Anyways, moving on. This was Dynamax's, after all the diversity. One deck stood out above the rest. 7-0. 7-0 Draking list. Draking's really interesting here. First and foremost, peep the side deck. That's 2 copies of Magnetic Force Field. You dang right. The other thing here is we have raw Draking. That's right. It is, and I think, honestly, we'll talk about it here later towards the end of this, some of the pinnacle, the refinement of Moonrise deck building. Moonrise deck building. It's crazy. The theory behind Bronto Wisp is sick as hell. Bronto plus Kinleo for any guy. The idea, and I'll talk about it when we get to the list, it's that, plus Fun Guide is kind of just Werepup when you think about it. Not a good justification for why I built the deck, but crazy to think about. But this list has it all. Decent beaters, Spectaris, healers, Hurricane, native Hurricane, and Draking, a really strong Elestral that is a hard Ascension that can potentially win you some tempo turns. Foamy as well, incredibly hard to deal with. We saw it previously too. Spectaris down also means that cards like Foamy go up. Also means they're a lot better. The meta trend, the players are responding to the meta trends. The wave is good. So moving on. We have Penterror from Ari. This one's pretty good. This is a classic. I got my booty beat by this deck, and big fan. Big fan. Again, the Veritalk was inside the side deck as well. Magnetic Force Field too. You see that? 2 decks in the top against Magnetic Force Field. You gotta love it. Eruption in the side deck from this one. This one I think is Trish's pet shop list from the past event. This is the refinement of Flare. This is the final stage of the Lunar Aggro strategy, that what it morphed into. Got Eruption inside the side, Argo into the main, Werepup in the best Nexus bank in the world, like a Void, utilizing Kinleo, Eddie, and Smoltuga to excellent effect. 3 Spectaris in the side. Again, Spectaris is backup, baby. Very strong list. I love the concept and idea of this one. Again, it is kind of the backbone of this whole idea, right? Earth went away and morphed into something like this. Very strong. Also, it's, again, the Cabal. This is the Cabal list, really. Solar Facts. Shout out to Bo. Shout outs to Bo indeed. This is a Magnetic Force Field on the side. Peep that. We've got a Solar Argo list. No Lustragon. RIP to the big dragon. Lust Dragon's gone. We do have Heliolith in the main. Big fan. Big fan. I think the idea here is sound too. And then Spirits Inside are a mess. Hey, listen, this was a mess I think this event was also kind of a blur for a lot of us, but you see the Argo inside the main to capitalize off that. You have you have 2 copies of Kafmel kind of going down from the third, which is third here. Boombath potentially for Blizzstrix in plays. Spoiled Fruit for heal. Solid beaters. Really, I can't really say much about this one. Playing Zeus instead of the Demeter side of things. I do like this deck quite a bit. Very strong showing from Bo. I believe a top 8 finish from Bo. Then we have Lego. This is Distant Coder's deck, playing the exact same deck, but with 2 Magnetic Force Field on the side. I told you. Everyone is scared. Look at this. 1, 2. You're playing Eruption, you don't count. 3, 4 decks so far in the top 8 are playing Magnetic Force Field. You're welcome, and I'm sorry. Crazy. And though, yeah, that's right. The lone Vipyro. The lone Vipyro for that eruption play. Amazing. Oh, this one was you. Okay, this one was Wire Rebellion. I got you. With the 3 Nobby and the Doppelganger side. I got you. Cryo Rhino shouts. This was the winning list from Sir Tractor, playing Eruption in the side with the 1 Cryo Scorch is awesome. Again, burn good, frost scary, minimal counter runes, and for the most part, you also have your healers and your ability to play through a lot of different stuff, putting people on better habits. This thing is crazy, and Sir Tractor is a phenomenal player. The deck literally looks like a brickfest. See, that's the thing though, is that like in the hands of Sir Tractor, one of the things that would happen is that you would mulligan until you see like your half decent or good hand. You could do that twice if you really needed to. So that's like the grander inclusion of the mulligan into getting into your cryo-ling system with like 1 counter rune was crazy. Sir Tractor made it look unstoppable, exactly. I would brick all day on this. Me personally, I'm bricking. It's crazy. Absolutely nuts. But phenomenal deck too, and congratulations to Sir Tractor on this one. This one's the Distant Coder list. Yeah, you're right. This is Lunar Aggro again. And again, fun. I do like the strategy. It's tried and true. We've seen it before. I'm not a lot of notes here. It's effectively the same list as Dallas, except for minus the Moss Station in the main for an extra Rumble Gem. I do like that a lot, taking notes from Bo. Then we have Pharaohgeist. A hard Ascend Pharaohgeist. This one's a really interesting list because it is just kind of lunar good, solar good stuff with the Demeters in the main. It's close to photosynthesis, but it's in the dark. Also, hard drawing the Pharaohgeist is very fun. Cool though. Next we have this is Josh's Shiva Morfrost. This is Shiva Frost. More Shiva. Base. Oh, the side deck thing. Huh, that's weird. Oh yeah. This is Shiva Morfrost, but peep at the side deck on this one. It's just Blizztrix. Literally one of the first, if not the first, smoke screen decks pure in Elestrals. Now again, potentially for something killer, Shiva Frost and more Shiva. When you lose game 1, you know you do. You play Blizz. Then I started blizzing. Yeah, exactly. This is the story. Not gonna be my soapbox in that one. Cried a whole river and drowned the whole world. This was cards that Josh had on his deck Turbo. Exactly. Very cool strategy, very scary. There was a particular screenshot and a picture that Josh took of one of the game states, which was a like 20 mat Shiver Roar with like a 4 mat, like I don't know how it's even possible, literally cheating. Like Frigid Cub. It was crazy. Show the screenshot. Let me see if I can show the screenshot. Let's see where this screenshot is. This thing's crazy. Let me see if I can find. Let me see if I can find this thing. This thing was so funny to see. Here it is. All right, I got it. All right, pulling it over. Let me do this. It's been. This is this. Can you believe that that deck made this game state? Isn't that wild? Look at this crazy game. How do you out this board? How do you out this board? You can't. You literally can't. So funny. So it's crazy. Into a second, that true, very true, so very true. Anyways, that thing is wild. 9 Spirit Shiva Frost? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. More Shiva go crazy. Into a Blizzstrix side. Never expected it. The Spanish Inquisition of side decking, actually. The Spanish Inquisition of side decking. Next, we have Pet Shop again. This one's a little bit interesting. Let me see who played this list. This was A-Team. This was A-Team on like an Argo Earth deck. This is, I think, Scrap is what A-Team ended up calling this thing. I don't know if I agree that it is Scrap, but it is like, again, like Argo Nexus is what I'm kind of dubbing this list. You're playing Argo, you're playing your Nexusers, Equilinks, and your cats, Articats too, right? So it's like fine. It's like completely fine. Then, moving on, we have another Lunar Aggro list, very similar to what we've seen so far from our decks from Dallas, our decks from previously, tried and true, but not placing as well as it was previously. Again, we saw a big rise in Lunar Aggro, the Lego decks, and then just slowly over time, people are just like playing different strategies and finding out how to play against these strategies. Yo, what's going on, Cobalt? We'll get to you. We'll get to you. I alluded to, we haven't talked about your deck yet. You're getting here. And it's so funny because we saw your previous April 5th list as a nice precursor to what will come. So we'll get to you. All right, then Thunder Beatdown. Thunder. That's it. We have Thunder Classic. We've got Toxion. We've got Unk. Interesting strategy. Didn't love it, but it's like fine. Argo in the main though. Bellowbee Beatdown. This is Wind Beatdown with Bellowbee in it. Based. Very cool. Again, we're starting to get into the below top. I think this is still top 32, but actually, no, I think this is top 16 still, because I believe Cobalt is 17th. Yeah. Okay. We have, I think this was, and let me check on who this one is. We have, that was Undone So Over. I think this is Pepper TCG on a Thuner Aggro. I was not misspeaking when I said Thuner Aggro. Thunder Lunar Aggro. Same concept as before. You take the fire aggro stuff. I need to get a good nickname for Helioth. I literally don't have one. K-Curry calls it Hell Yeah Lith. Hell Yeah Lith. Hell Yeah Lith. Like Hell Yeah Lith. I don't know if we can call it that, but it's okay. It's a fine nickname. Don't tell her I said that though. She'll kill me. Thuner Aggro. Concept of this one is very similar to the Fire and the Earth one, just with no good Nexuser to play off of an Argo list, right? But once again, you are playing the Thuner line, the Lunar line, and the Thunder line to a beatdown strategy. Full Tempest on the side, by the way. Oh, where are we at? Oop, there we go. Ah, here we are. Pharaohgeist. But the craziest version of Pharaohgeist of all time. This is crazy. Tail. Thunder, Argo, Lunar, Eddy. It's always Eddy. Look at this list. This thing is insane. It's just lunar good stuff and the lunar ascension line into anything with the Pharaohgeist. 3 Gloombat is wild. You know, Kay during the stream was like, where Gloombat? Here Gloombat. Literally, this is crazy. The Bouncer? I like that one. The Bouncer. That one's fun. Now, next we have, I think this is Big Kahuna. Kind of staple, but between the Thunderstorm inside the main deck. We have Fire Nexus, but without the Argo in the main. Again, differences between some of the other fire lists and this one, a little more low to the ground strategy, playing things like Eruption in the side. Pretty decent. I do like the inclusion of the Thunderstorm. I think Thunderstorm's a really cool card that will see a lot more play in Firestorm. Love that card. Oh, God. We're here. I got washed by this deck, and it was so cool. This thing is killer. So, talking a little bit about it as well, this list is like, it's like Celestial Blizzstrix, like Solar Blizzstrix is what I can call it. And like, or like Solar Reanimator. The deck name is the most crazy Winged Dragon of Rock Hall of all time. But this thing is so crazy. What do you do against Comagma? Comagma discard Celestlio, Rise from the Ashes Celestlio. Celestlio will hit 3. You don't do anything. You save your Gorgons for a turn. That's cool. How do you out the Celestlio? So cool to see this strategy pop up, and I'm sad that it didn't top or do a little bit better, because like I think this thing is crazy good. Is crazy good. Boombat, yeah, for sure. This looks absolutely amazing. This looks like it draws playable hands, 4 out of 10 hands. See, that's the crazy part, right? The crazy part about this deck is that like it's like you can get destroyed by destruction. Absolutely, that's so true. But like your opponent has to see it. You gotta see it. Gorgons of Comagma, also fair. Like there are a lot of ways this deck can fall. Don't get me wrong. Like Gorgons or like some sort of battle trick could be pretty good. Magnetic force field on the side, by the way. But I think overall the theory here is crazy. The theory here is crazy. You just turbo into Celestlio, one of the biggest bodies you can get to. So the Reanimator strategy, that's something I think that also Wirtz talked about with Pharaohgeist, is wild. You just mulligan until you hit the combo. Or until you see Rise, right? Anyways, ban Rise, you might have to eventually. Blizzstrix, this deck. I want to play this deck so bad. Tomorrow, I think, is there a casual tomorrow? I want to play that. I think I'm playing this deck for the casual. I'm definitely playing this deck for the casual. Ban Eruption, that too. This thing was so fun. Really cool to play against. Really cool to play, like to see in action. God, it's so cool. It's so cool. I love it. Moving on, because we have to. I can nerd out about this list all day. Again, we have 3 chains on the side, are really strong. 3 magnetic force field. The 3 hurricanes to kind of like really get after it. Yeah, recommend swapping out the Leo Brights for more Draco Ray. I probably would too. The Leo Brights are fun because you can add them off the Celestlio, so it's, you get an Ascension target. I think I would cut like maybe 1 for a second Draco Ray, because second Draco Ray can come up and I think is really strong too as an Ascension line to get back like your heal stall. I kind of like the Leo Brights though, honestly. I don't know. I'll listen to the master on this one. Moving on, we have Tornadjin with Quackles and Sorlets inside of the main. Also pretty good. Again, I like the inclusion of the more wind-heavy Tornadjin here, but this is Windjinless Tornadjin, which I think is interesting. I like the theory behind it that you're replacing Windjin with like a solid beater in the form of Sorlet and potentially a healer in the form of Quackle. But I think I kind of like the Windjin plays, for sure. I sighted into the pen stuff and out of the Tornadin at the end of every game one. And also a huge jump scare, because they'll try to side in for Tornadin and not expect your big dragon here. Crazy to think about. Then we have Blizz. We haven't really seen Blizz before here. Again, Blizztrix was not very well represented here. If I can just go back all the way up through all this work. There we go. We had only one true Blizztrix. We had a Cryo Blizz here too, but where Blizztrix? No Blizztrix. Again, I think things like there's a lot of decks that we're just not playing, we're playing against it, and potentially we're like washing Blizztrix as a whole. So this is our first like traditional Blizztrix that we've seen, and this is what place is this? This is pretty far down. I think this is actually like 21st, maybe? Maybe this is 20th, I think. But yeah, I think Blizztrix is kind of out, and also Cryo Rhino in the side here too. Peep that. Next we have Pharaohgeist, another Argo list with the Kamalis. Shoutouts to Dimax in this one again, playing Pharaohgeist and doing fairly well, I think, with it, but also kind of solidifying that the Nexus plus Argo mechanic is huge. Then we have, again, well, I was about to say Pet Shop. Here is your Lone Ranger on Bronto Wisp. Why Bronto Wisp? Well, I'm going to be honest, I was in the shower the night before the event, and I was like, wait a minute. If the best Nexus bank in the game is Lycovoid, Bronto Wisp is like Lycovoid. Just fire. Fire Nexus is pretty good. Can I make it work? And I almost did. This, again, it kind of bricked a lot of times. I did not do very well. I did not draw very well against certain games. It did end up coming up to replace the Chains was crazy all day. If I could replace one thing in the main, it would just be Chains. It would just be Chains. Chains was crazy all day. I thought this card was wild. Every time I saw it, every time I activated it, it just won me the game almost on the spot. Eruption, also pretty crazy. I only played one Blizztrix. It was 6 inside of Swiss, and did win that one with double Eruption. But it didn't really come up otherwise. Again, there was a lot of like stuff. Yeah, exactly. Against my match against Ari, I only saw like the Werepup stuff. I was just too slow. It couldn't really come up. Like Kinleo wasn't really doing much here. I would replace the Forage with stuff like either another Elestral that was pretty high impact, maybe Eddies. Eddies always came into the main, or the Chains. And this deck was really cool. I liked the concept. I think in execution it can work, but overall, Bronto Wisp, maybe not it. But again, just kind of the theory of doing stuff. Plus also one Torture on the side. Next, we have Soren plays on Sunburn. Spores, true. Spores. Sunburn. Almost beat Trish on Pet Shop with this list, and I think that was very scary. I don't really know what there was to do against Trish on the Ash Rabbit loop, but quite a bit of stuff happened here on this one. The theory of this one is I know that Soren was in the tank for a long time on playing Sunburn, doing Sunburn shenanigans at the casuals, like winning some locals and stuff. Soren's also a really good player, and so really was able to make this strategy work with these ratios. The Krakatuga in the main too for hard ascension lines. You have the Armadon, which is like a super hard out as well. Hard Zeus though, I think I'd rather also see a Elachik here, but still Levy. Chains on the side as well. Again, Chains was crazy all day, and I think also Soren activating Chains was pretty good. Triple Eruption side just kind of get some people jump scared there, and very solid strategy. Sunburn refined. Yeah, way different direction. I also would probably not take this in this direction either, but who am I to say it? Soren did really well at this event. There's Blizztrix. There's our Cryo Blizz here. I don't mind the Cryo Blizz line here. Magnetic Force Field on the side, by the way. You got to do it. Really, really fun about this one is that it's just playing the one Cryo Scorch as like an Ascension, like almost as like an extra Blizztrix hard Ascend / like a Rise target, which I think can be pretty fun. This type of strategy we've seen somewhat before, but I don't know if I love it, you know? but it's cool. It is pretty cool. I forward the casuals on Sunburn before they premiere. It's a good deck. It's a cool deck. I'm saying. Next, we have... y'all, I said it once before. The PNM, April 5th, and this. This is Duck Duck Ghost with Kryber. You gotta be stopped. You must be stopped. I love this deck, but you have to be stopped. Crazy chef here. Crazy, crazy chef. I love it. We'll have to play. Maybe we'll try this deck. Maybe I'm just giving it some crap because it's like, I don't know what to do this one. This one, I'm either too dumb or too smart to get it. I don't understand. But I love it. It's crazy. Lunar aggro traditionally inside of this list here, playing 4 Nabi. Not sure why that is. 4 Nabi is weird here. That might be Doppelganger. That is an error in the deck list. It's definitely a Doppelganger. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's his 4th Nabi. At this, I mean, it might as well be. Then we have a pet shop here, or this is the Lunar Fire aggro list. More similar to the previous one that Shirt was playing without the heavy small Tuga line as well, and playing the Nabi in the side deck. Pretty fun. Pretty fun. Played against it felt unbeatable. Staring down 1-2 dudes. Following game, the huge dudes didn't show up, and it felt like it was a lot more fair. Also very fair. Yeah. Very true, very true. Then we have Tornajin. Simple. Regular Tornajin. We've seen a decrease in Tornajin players playing. I can't tell if that's because the deck is like just seeing less steam, or because the deck is like easy to play against. What I found is that the deck was pretty spirit intensive, and so I wasn't able to really capitalize without going super low on spirits. And again, Cryoblast food all day. And Apollo stinky. Apollo was kind of stinky. I would cut it down to 1-1 and play First Light instead, you know. Then we're starting to get into Bug Box, but this is Ardbud with the Rhino Sect line. I actually did conceptualize this list like really early inside of Moonrise format. You play the cards like Rhino, which is technically a bug card. So if you have Ardbud search a card, turn 2, you go Rhinymph effect, special the Rhino Sect. Then you go Ardbud, kill the Rhino Sect, go Ardvarum. It's pretty interesting. Seems pretty interesting for the most part. However, Argo on the side, with the artifacts in the main, I don't really understand this one. This might be a 1-0 drop, a 2-0 drop, 3-0 drop. It's very interesting. I don't really know why the Argo is not in the main deck, but I like the idea. The concept of this deck is fun. Oh, and there we go. This is the other one. This is, I think this is Frasinator, yes. Frasinator 9000 played the exact same list. The side deck, I think, was a mistake on the compiler, but this was the exact same list that we saw before. Again, they cannot get away with it. Sunrise, that's a pretty good name for it. The Celestlio Turbo deck. Terrifying. Then we have the Heal Control. I think this is Julian's list, trying to run it back with a very similar, if not the same strategy as before. This is, oh, okay, built the deck 30 minutes in advance. Okay, so it might not actually be a deck error. It might just be that there's no set. That's really funny. This deck did not perform as well as I think Julian would have wanted to. It's a very similar type of strategy to where it was before, just with the Spectaris here. That's it. Like, there's nothing really to say about this one. I think it could perform earlier, but again, I think people are expecting Heal a little bit more. And I think Heal is less good now that Kaufmel is also you know how to play against Kaufmel too. The fact that Heal also doesn't quite hit as hard as Fire Nexus or Blizztrix, meaning that there's more decks in the meta that can like allow you to heal back those spirits and then just swing on you for like 4 the next turn. Not sure. Then we have, I think this is one, it might be Shurits, actually. No, this is JJ's. JJPM's Pet Shop deck, trying to also do the similar, this is the exact same list as Trish with the 3 eruption on the side too. Very, very strong. Again, I like this list a lot, and concept and no JJ had kind of had a rough run with it, pun intended. But strong deck. Fire Nexus, very cool. What the dog doing? Yeah, the Cabal this time around was Trish, Justin, and JJ playing this similar list. Again, very strong. Argo in the main. Lastly, we had a true to form Phosphocell deck with Sean Y. This one's also really cool, playing the artifact for Argo for the solar portion of it. Really interesting strategy. Not a lot of dudes inside the deck, and for the most part, again, it's like I was saying earlier, Thunder is good, but it's missing something to kind of get it going now that Spark is effectively gone. Magnetic Force Field on the side though, because you can technically play it natively. Big fan of this one. And it has Spectaris in it. Not a lot to say here. Phosphocell is really cool. I like that as a decent one of, and you're not playing either Larvacell, which could have been the difference maker for the Nexus plays, or you're also not playing Anocell, which I think makes a lot of sense. And that's it. We're at the most recent thing. So we're back to the fun part of this, which I don't know how Trish does this. I don't know how Trish sits here and looks and analyzes every single deck list. Next time, I'm just doing cliff notes. Makes us much more interesting, the pacing much better. However, we do have to go over it, and we do have to pump out a little bit more here in terms of the final wrap up of the Moonrise meta. So here are our numbers from the previous tournament. Again, we saw the rise in Kathmel, saw the rise in Eruption, Magnetic Force Field, down goes Galaxy, up or slightly down goes Spectaris too. Now, what do y'all think is gonna go up? What's gonna go down? What do we see here go up and what do we see here go down from the final event and what we know to be the Moonrise meta currently? Chains will go up for sure. True. Very true. Very, very true. Where do we see? Force Field stonks. Eddie goes up. Rise up, but the bar is pretty low. True. True. So, let's go ahead and not beat around the bush any longer. Not a whole lot changes. I mean, some things do change quite a bit. Boom. Divine Blessing has a slight tick up. Eddie is also, pretty down. Look at that Galaxy hit. Boom. Galaxy was crazy. Galaxy went down so much, no one's playing Galaxy nowadays. And it's definitely due to the fact that Spectaris stonks up, Kathmel stonks up, Magnetic Force Field up, Argo up, which makes Whale a little bit worse. Like, Galaxy with Argo is crazy because you can do things and make an 8 body. But Argo, being the higher inclusion here, means that it's not winning combat as much. It's now another counter rune in the game that it does not beat. Gorgons and Argo are good. Galaxy are seeing more play. Galaxy did see a lot more play. Again, the wind side of things are up too. Wind is so up right now. So, Divine Blessing up, Hurricane down, and Kathmel a little bit up, Spectaris up, which would make sense for our Galaxy inclusion. And Kathmel here, going up from the last tournament, again from like 8 to 25 or something, I think, and Heal winning ultimately, I think it gives stuff like Spectaris room to grow. So what we saw previously from these trends here too is that from the first tournament before, which I really should have made a slide of the history overall. This is on me. is that Spectaris was played a decent amount. Galaxy was still number one. Then Galaxy got, right? Galaxy starts trending down way more. Eddie is the more universal, just generally good card to play as your water beater strategy. People are citing less for Blizzstrix, and instead playing cards like Eruption, the fire engines. We are starting to see fire be the predominant strategy for Nexusing, for the lunar engine, for all these sorts of things. Magnetic Force Field is coming up just to say, hey, I'm not going to deal with Eruption today. Please just do not Eruption me. Jesus Christ. Like, who starts a conversation like that? Like, it's wild. It's absolutely killer wild. Kaufmel too. Kaufmel seeing the resurgence and higher numbers of play from heal, from solar, just generally up, means that Spectaris is the premier, the absolute premier beater. It hits Galaxy if they're playing, it hits Kaufmel if they're playing. It's a 5-stat body that can pretty much hit a lot of decks, and it slots nicely into the existing lunar strategies like Lunar Argo, Lunar Earth, Lunar Beatdown. There's a lot of different places where Spectaris come back to rise. So the trend of Spectaris could also be the thing to watch for Moonrise, but Spectaris was also being played inside of Daybreak as a way to combat things like Galaxy, Crabs, and etc. in previous Fives list. Whereas Kaufmel, I think, is a better indicator of the Moonrise meta. So once again, our big meta shifts from Eruption, I'm so sorry and you're welcome, to now Magnetic Force Field. People are playing around burn. People are playing Spectaris to help combat their heal strategies. Insane to think about. So those are our 3 cards. We're finally at the end of our lecture. Near the end of our lecture. There will be a test on this one. Argo, Eruption, and Kaufmel. All 3 different strategies and 3 different ideas of Moonrise. When we talk about the Moonrise meta, again, we talked about it previously too, the 3 cards that we would think to define the era of Moonrise: Nabi, El Diablo, and Werepup. We're only half true. 2 out of 3 are Daybreak, absolutely. Again, weird to think about this is that Daybreak best set, let's go, is that the previous incarnations of Elestrals, base set cards would go on to define 3 to 4 of them, right? Frostfall cards would go on to define a lot of Daybreak. And now, Daybreak is effectively defining Moonrise. Isn't that crazy? Eruption's the only constant between all 3 of these. Eruption's been somewhat good, right? But the story of Moonrise has almost nothing to do with Moonrise. In fact, things like Werepup and Lunar Aggro have been supplemented to purpose being in Nexus banks. It's like the Rick and Morty bit. It's like the butter robot coming up. It's like Werepup's like bark, 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 which translates, of course, as we all know, in dog language to what is my purpose? And then you stare at Werepup and you go, you're a Nexus bank. And it goes, oh my God. And then you Nexus off of it and you kill something and then you go Kinleo swing for 4. Anyways, from the very, very start of the Moonrise meta with Argo, the big premier standout from the Dallas Open, to Eruption, the eventual potential counter to these strategies, and kind of a fun little inclusion in, oh wait, this can be pretty good. Fire is really strong, and this beats Blizzstrix and the previous targeted deck. And then we have Kaufmel. Kaufmel, I think, tells us a little bit more about how Moonrise ended up shaping out. And we'll get into that here too. So let's talk about that as well. So going back to why are these cards important? And hopefully we kind of looking through all the decks and experimenting with some of our thoughts here, we're able to kind of illustrate the card pool is large enough to start developing micro meta games. Again, we talked about the inclusion and the upticks and downticks of a lot of these different cards, these 10 cards that I do actually firmly believe to be like the reason why Moonrise is what it is. Then we also have the data. This was a ton of decks, by the way. This was over 100 decks that we looked at today. And over the span of the 6 tournaments there are for Moonrise, there are like there's like 900 decks. It's not 900. It's close to 500 decks, I'm pretty sure. We have a lot of data to help support and compile and look at the trends and what is really going on with Elestrals. So cool. We haven't had that before. And then finally, too, again, a thriving card game. Yes, these cards are not necessarily from the most recent set, but that means the old set still maybe retains some value here, right? On some level, which is a good thing. It means that the base of the core is good. Speaking of base, the extended base set theory of Moonrise being the end of it all, right? The culmination of Elestrals and the final step forward into what Elestrals can and will be, I think is highlighted in these cards. Argo, the idea that counter runes and battle and tempo is so strong in this game. Eruption, spirit management is important, and the fact that you can't always count on expenditure to be your option. And Kafmel. It means that every set is well balanced so far. I don't know if I believe that. That's a different conversation for another day. But, you know, there's that, to be fair. All right. So what can we learn specifically, though? That was like kind of the why and the lessons that were important. But let's talk about Argo, our after school special here. What can we learn from Argo? Argo, from what I can gather, you know, foregoing spirits. This is a very expensive play. Sometimes it's a 4 to 6 spirit play, depending if you get the burn off Nexus Harmonia. For winning combat and more importantly, winning tempo. I don't know why I capitalize every single thing inside these sentences, Jesus Christ. But the point of it is that Argo's trade-off for winning one single combat might just be match winning, game ending. And the question you have to ask yourself, are you feeling lucky? Argo, necklace, shake hand. I think people and players were doing that 9 times out of 10 after seeing the Dallas Open. As well, we did get to see a larger increase in Nexus strategies because of this. You know, ban Equins, by the way. Nexus strategies and Nexusing, we've always kind of said and joked that is like the backbone of Elestrals. Like everything cool about Elestrals can kind of be highlighted inside of Nexusing, which I don't think is true anymore. I think we were kind of just bored before, and we were saying things like that because we were like, we just did not like the low to the ground strategies. But as the game has kind of gotten faster, Nexusing has become somewhat less important. And so it's interesting to see that the decks that can really capitalize on Nexusing are using cards like Argo for just Nexus banks, because we're just so hard up for Nexus banks. Next, the counter runes equals more wins. This is still true. The different types of counter runes to help you cover things is also very true, right? It's very real. The odds are, if you see a decent amount of counter runes and Elestrals to help control tempo and control the space, you will always win. That's been true since base set, but I think it's even more true with Argo. And finally, niche decks like Solar can now walk the earth. Pun and spirits intended. It's true. Counter equals more wins till it's Cobalt. True. The exceptions prove the rule. Not sure. It's going on Dialis, by the way. I don't know if I said hi to you earlier, but Solar is strongest soldier. Hello. Next, lessons from Eruption. Watch your ass, baby, because like legitimately, you can't manage your spirits. If you're a normal deck and you get caught up with Eruption, that feels terrible, right? You gotta be able to watch your spirits. Spirit management is important. It's always been important inside of Elestrals, and in Moonrise especially. Blitztrix is really good, and it kind of forgoes some of that logic, but like the trade-off between going down to 2 spirits on Blitztrix might just be winning the game, and then your opponent drops Eruption on you, and you're like, man, this deck sucks. And that's not bad spirit management. That's just, I think, good counterplay from our players. As well, niche tech choices in tournaments can sway a lot of people thinking they're good. Again, I am so sorry. And I'm not necessarily equating this to just me, because I think a lot of people were on Eruption or trying out burn strategies. Fire Nexus was slotting it in. I was mainly taking cues from people like Rybot, who I know had a killer, stellar opening and a lot of killer plays at the Dallas Open that I heard about with Eruption. So realistically, it's a culmination of just like a gut feeling, and also turns out the hypothesis was correct. But the point of this one is that a random top 4 at a P&M influenced tons about the meta. People playing Eruption more, people playing Fire decks more, people like going Magnetic Force Field. I think that's completely due to the trickle-down effects of the players at Dallas influencing the P&M, influencing the rest of the tournaments, right? Up until now where this stuff is good. Eruption, good card. It's true. And you can play around it. You can account for it. So that's also the thing about Moonrise. Again, we go from a counter rune to an invoked rune to finally Argo Mel. Let's talk about Argo Mel. So what does Mel teach us, really, about Moonrise and about Elestrals right now? And this is across the board. We've known that heal is very strong, but heal is very strong. Like, one of the best things you can do in terms of tempo turns is establish a healer to gain back resources, and Kafmel is one of the best ones. It's an investment later into spirits that can heal its own spirit back. On top of that, a 3/4 body is really good. 3/4 with Zeus can hit over a rabbit. 4 can wall out an Eddie if you have Tsunami too. So another card that Eddie can not really deal with on the crackback. The only card that can really counter this is Spectaris, to be fair. So the idea is that, like, if they don't have specifically Spectaris, this card is going to be healing you back 3, can really allow you to stick in the game longer and see more resources where your opponent might not have it. Heal very strong. Still beats Stray Bunnies and Attack that too. Unlike it doesn't trade like the other healers, it beats Rabbit. Attacks to Rabbit, be warned. The other thing that I think I'm taking away from Mel is that Ascending, previously the weakest mechanic in Elestrals, has a place, given the right tempo. You know, obviously we saw plays that Bo did inside the finals, things like Ascending Kafmel over Kafmel or going Heliolith over Kafmel. We also saw Kafmel over with Tornadjin. Kafmel is one of the best Ascension targets, because similar to what we did previously with stuff like Arcolith, is we go Quackle one turn, heal back 3 spirits, go Arcolith the next turn over the Quackle, now that Quackle's job's done, and then swing for game. Kafmel kind of exemplifies the same type of theory, where it's like Kafmel is a great turn 1 investment. If it gets outed, cool, you heal. If it doesn't get outed, cool, you heal. And you still either have a threatening presence on the board, or also you can ascend into whatever. Draco Ray for a heal 6. You also have your Tornadjin for like your win plays. Heliolith for a bounce. It's there. Hey, what's going on, Miwa? Hello, good to see you. He's just a guy. I love my girl Mel. This thing's crazy. It's so good, but good to see you here. Hello. Hello. This entire lecture, Professor Swolax here, is brought to you by these 3 cards, by the way. So the thing with Mel that I think is really fascinating, though, again, it kind of highlights too that the tempo of the game is slow enough to where you do see a lot of like ascensions happen, right? Like ascensions do occur. They're much more common than previous. I think that's really interesting. Whereas before, ascension was just like rarely ever happening. But now you have, I think, on average, much more times where you can stick a body, have it stick, and then drop down your body. I'm just saying. And turns out a 4 is all you really need. To back that thing up. True. So, again, what do we learn from the real 3 cards of Moonrise? Previously, before, we'd say things like, oh, yeah, the cards that are going to define the Moonrise format are cards like Werepup, Nabi, or El Diablo. But now I think, in my opinion, are cards like Argo, Eruption, and my girl Mel. So Kafmel kind of sick, not gonna lie. So hopefully this answers the question, and we've kind of go over in this our 3 hours of yapping so far, looking at over about 300 decks, or maybe only 100 decks, top 32 times 4. Yeah, sure. I can't read and I can't do math, but I am your professor. The big thing is that we have answer the question of what is the Moonrise meta. We talked about this previously on like why is it important, the cards that are at play, the key players, and the history behind this. What is the Moonrise meta? There is no meta. Play Chivalry. That's like that meme. It's the girl with the gun. I lied. There is no meta. Play Coastalith. Play Starbit. Yeah, exactly. All right. What is the Moonrise meta? So, to surmise, it's the packages people play. It's the friends we made along the way. It's metas whatever the Australians avoid. True. True. The meta is whatever the Australians avoid. That's killer. That's so killer. The Moonrise meta is less about the deck names, but what packages that people chose to combine it with. Also very true. Here's my perfect deck for Moonrise. It's a decent 5-attack body. No, sorry. Yeah, stop me if you've heard this one before. A decent 5-attack body, a healer, maybe an Ascension or two, Argo, a Nexuser, and then Ed. Always. Eduardo. Chat, Nate, what deck is this? What deck is this? The meta is half staples, then shoes and spice. Kind of. Forgetting Rabbit? You don't need Rabbit nowadays. Ash Rabbit is good enough. Trust me. Trust me. So the reality is, you know, we also think to ourselves, not photosynthesis. Dang right. That's my champion right there. She's so good, everyone. So here's the thing. We said before, the meta is quite diverse. And the answer is yes. The individual cards that you are actually playing inside the Moonrise meta are pretty diverse. However, the reality is when you really break down their function into their 8-way dash, etc., shoutouts to my MVC players, unfortunately, this I think are the keys here. Let's take a look at some decks that have topped and have done well that I think really fully exemplify the theory here. Number 1, Ardbud. Ardbud kind of breaks the rule a little bit, but you have some Ascensions, check. Some pretty decent 5-statted beaters and bodies, check. A healer, missing that one, but oh well. Argo, a Nexuser, Eddie. There we go, easy peasy. Not entirely all of them, you're missing the healer, but you can kind of forego it because you're going with Ardbud for bug searching. So you're giving away consistency for your healer. That's not true. Scythe heals, that's right. Rybot got me on that one. Absolutely true. Scythe heals. Never mind, this thing's got it all. It's got a decent 5-attack body, it's got a healer, an Ascension or two, Argo, Nexuser, Edward. Next, Draking, most recent 7-0 in second place from Dimax. Shouts to Dimax. Well, let's see. What's it missing? Well, it's missing a Nexuser, so unfortunately that is already out of the question, but it does have 5 body, healer, an Ascension or two, and Eddie. No Argo as well. So healer and Argo are the 2 missing from this one, but for the most part, it's got 4 of the 6. Pretty decent so far. Making good headway on this one, though. 7-0 with this one. Part of it's due to the player, but again, Nexuser in this is optional. That's true. So technically we only have 5 here. So it's only really missing 1, which is the Argo portion. Fire Nexus. Traditional Fire Nexus, not necessarily a pet shop version of Fire Nexus here. Let's see what we got. We got a healer. There's Torchin. I guess that kind of counts. Ash Rabbit's also kind of a healer. Ambrosia's a healer too, if we want to talk about it. Decent 5-statted beater in the form of Necruff. We have Lavalith for your Ascension or two. People have been also sliding like Rummelcoal and stuff here, maybe. Let's see what we got here as well. We have Nexusing, Kinleo. There's a Moonrise list. Ash Rabbit's whatever you want it to be. Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. So again, hits all the spots, but no Eddie. That's right, no Eddie in this one. I think for Rybot's list was playing Eddie before. This is Zero's list from Dallas. So, you know, if you really want to, but Rybot's list fits all the molds exactly. This one, not quite right. So still, Moonrise list. Oh, here we go. We have Adam Adams' list for this one for Tonajin. Let's check this one. Ascensioner 2, check. Nexuser. No, missing the Nexuser. Optional though. Eddie Action, Ed. Healers, Kaufmel, Quackle, and a decent 5-statted body in the form of Lumaru. No Argo though, also missing Argo. However, fits majority of them, and potentially, by the way, we're kind of seeing a trend here. The decks that are performing overly well and doing an insane amount of damage in the meta are including all of these options in their arsenal. So maybe potentially missing out on those things is kind of the point of it, right? But to varying degrees of success. So again, majority of the criteria filled here. No surprise. And that's it. That's the Moonrise enchilada. I think there's other decks too, like the Cryo, like the Frost decks kind of break the mold here. There's of course the Celestial deck from our friends down under that are absolutely kicking everyone's butts. The random names that I see pop up, like, oh yeah, the Celestial deck just absolutely like mauled me. Insane. I just spilled my coffee all over my my jeans. We'll get to that. The point is, the Moonrise meta is a lot. It is a combination of the players, the history of those players, the Dallas Open, the largest, most influential event inside of Elestrals history, the PNM being the aftermath of that and some of the experimental playing grounds of it, and then finally the shapings up to be what I believe to be the key behind the Moonrise meta. This list here. Finally somewhat combining all the elements of Elestrals together. Again, showcasing off the extended base set theory and the first steps into the design philosophy of Elestrals. Decent attackers, healer or two, Ascension line, Nexus, and of course, Eddie. And there was a lot to go over. And I really appreciate each and every one of you for sticking around, for being here for this 3-hour yap session on the return of our Professor Swolax stream. Again, I didn't think that we'd get this far after a billion slides. And I'm not gonna lie to you, let me just check how many slides we have here. 177 slides from where we started at. And that's wild to think about. It really is. There are so many decks that we talked about and looked over today, and a lot to chew over and talk about in terms of the trends that players were doing, that players were seeing, that we all pretty much lived. I think a lot of us here like went to Dallas. We played at the PNMs. We played at these things. So right now, this might feel a little more fresh or a little more like, I don't know about these things here and there. And that's totally fine. I think as we get away from the Moonrise meta and as we kind of refine the Moonrise meta, we will start to see this thing also unravel much, much more. Elestrals will be incredibly underexplored until many years into the future. And that's the cool part though, is we can kind of look back at some of these lists and some of these events and say to ourselves, that was a whole enchilada. That's pretty much everything from me. Once again, I've been Swolax. Copious amounts of UX and UI design. Big fancy term for being a prime yapper. 3 hours true. Two-time Elestrals champion before, despite everything, still me. Season 2 finalist for Lestrade Season 2, as well as the Dallas Open finalist. Shoutouts to Bo on this one. Bill, a very solid 22nd place, and he changed the slide when we get there. And as well, we are at the 4th premier set inside of Moonrise. We've had 3 ban lists. This was a mistake. And the situation that we've come across too, that we've had to answer the question of, is that Moonrise is a super diverse format. Every single time we've had a tournament, new things pop up, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? And Firestorm cards are right around the corner, with Shattered Stars Ares being legal inside the next tournament. So we have set out to kind of explain and kind of answer what is the Moonrise meta. We talked about some of the importance of that, why this matters. Again, it's the developing early stages of an extended card game, and also the micro meta games that players are doing in between each of the tournaments, not just the sets. We talked about the story of 3 cards here, initially thought to be Werepup, Nabi, and El Diablo. Talking to people before the set came out or instead of initial testing, these 3 cards were seen to be potentially the game enders, the big heavy hitters of the format. And I think that's really half true. But the reality of that situation is that it couldn't be further from the truth when you look at the actual 3 cards that really defined, I think, the Moonrise season, which is Argo, Eruption, and Kafmel. Through the meta trends that we saw, players playing different types of strategies and forming strategies around these cards and to combat these cards, I think we kind of showcased that our initial findings of the meta weren't so cut and dry, which is cool. Really, really cool. I've loved experiencing it all with y'all, and I think through the twists and turns of crazy surprises, of consistent strategies, and interesting alliances. Shouts to the Cabal and Penthouse. I'm really excited to see what happens for Firestorm. My hope and what I want from this game is that we get an additional in-person event by the end of the year. I know there's several on the local level that are really cool that I also plan on going out to. But an extended open like we had for Dallas, I want it back. I want her back so much. However, that's been the Moonrise enchilada. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and thank you so much for being here with me, and for that 3-hour internal yap session. If you guys like this stream, make sure to leave a like and let me know. I really appreciate each and every one of you for being here and following me along on this journey and this venture. It's something that I was kind of nervous about, honestly. I think it's been a long time since I've done a Professor Swolak stream and also just kind of stream in general. Between me being sick, going to Dallas, playing in events, and doing things, not only has the Moonrise meta shaped up, but also me as well. And so I do want to extend this big gratitude and this big thank you for having me back and for showing up to class on time and for doing your homework. I know a lot of y'all have put in hard work during this format, and I'm excited to see what you all cook up in the future. So that's it. That's all I really have to say. Thank you so much for being here and for eating this enchilada with me. This was a big baby. This was a big, big baby. So hopefully we'll get some Firestorm stuff soon. And I'm looking forward to playing stuff. Again, there's so many cool stuff. I know Werepup's kind of on everyone's mind for the Firestorm meta. I think that we also have like Ardbud is going to be crazy and Titan's crazy. I can't wait to play Bears. Like, get the Shattered Stars soon. I get Bears soon. Incredible. I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for being here. And if it's late for you, get some rest. Get something good to eat if you haven't eaten already. I'll probably go eat myself, finish my coffee and water, and relax for just a little bit. Shocker, shocker, I turned 38 today. That's not true. I don't believe that. Today is my birthday, but I'll never tell you my age. Never asked Swolax what his age is. Just turned into it, too. Me, Simo, Duologs, and apparently 3 other people share the same birthday. So, extra special, we get to end this stream around that time. And we'll be live here again soon. It's Tuesday now. And we'll be streaming live later tonight, or later today, for the casual. I really want to do it. Maybe we'll open some packs and we'll play some of the Celestio deck that I've been hearing so much about and I want to try out because it seems so cool. So really happy about that. So anyways, thank you so much for being here. If it's late for you, then get some rest. If it's not, if it's afternoon, morning, or evening, enjoy the rest of your day, night, or otherwise. Take care of yourself first and foremost. Eat something good if you haven't already. And I really do appreciate it, every single one of you. Subscribe for more Elestral and Elestrals content here sometime soon. Look into Firestorm. Follow me at on Twitter at Swolax, and all the good jazz, and the Elestronauts on Twitter at Elestronauts. And yeah, that's all I really got to say. Thank you so much for being here. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out. Oh my god. Well, I was literally just ending stream on the biggest high note of ever, but thank you so much, Azur, for Took and Kay. Thank you, Niche, for saying hello, mama. Thank you so much for saying happy birthday. I really appreciate that. Not many people know that, I'm actually going into my 50s this year. But hey, what's going on, Jay? Hello, good to see you. Thank you so much. Y'all had to come in right as I was about to end things and say happy birthday, huh? I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Where are the cookies? See, for the birthday stream, we might have to do it. Maybe tonight. Maybe. Maybe. Happy birthday, thank you. Hopefully sometime soon. And in fact, actually, we're going to be streaming later tonight as well. Like I said, we're probably going to play in the Celestial casual deck. We're doing something. Maybe not Yu-Gi-Oh! God forbid. That'd be ridiculous. That'd be absolutely insane. I appreciate it. Thank you so much to the K-Crate contingency, the K-tingency, if you will, for showing up and wishing me a happy birthday. Very much appreciated. Birthday stream, I gotta. Absolutely. I mean, it's birthday stream now, technically, but we just wrap up our 3-hour or 4-hour yap session on Elestrals here. So we're there. I'm legally required by my benefactor to wish happy birthday. Thank you so much. Thank you. Your benefactor is very nice. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Jay. I hope you have a wonderful day too. And I mean, like I said, for the most part, it's just Tuesday for most people, including me. Thank you, Miwa, so much. I appreciate that. Again, it's funny because I could never tell you guys my real age, and you could guess all day long, but you might not ever get it. So it's more shocking than you think. By the way, this has been a nice Professor Swolax, as it's been. Again, I think that the really fun part about this is the whole Moonrise enchilada. Oops. There we go. This has been the Moonrise enchilada. Thank you so much, everyone, for the birthday wishes. If y'all are watching this now at the end of this video after all these birthday wishes, and thank you guys so much, just know we'll be back sometime soon for an actual birthday stream later tonight. But in the meantime, I hope you'll have a great rest of your night and your day. I'm going to go and eat something and relax for a little bit. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night. I love you so much, and thank you for the birthday wishes, everyone. You guys are great. Thank you.